style, and then he's commenting on Tiafo style. And I love that the guy also today, with his semifinal in mind, he actually sent a text and wished a happy birthday to Tim Henman. So that's the guy we talk about.
As we said, Tim Henman turning 50 today, and that would be a big birthday present for British tennis. But before we get set for the match, something that we were talking about beforehand, Sophie was talking about all of Draper's off-court pursuits. He's a very cosmopolitan guy, but that does not make him some kind of pretty boy. Last year, we talked a lot about how injuries really hampered his season. He missed about 6 months, but if you look at his schedule after the U.S. Open last year, where he came back and reached the 4th round, he goes back to Europe, gets to a challenger final, flies to Tokyo, qualifies, loses first round, gets back to Europe, wins a challenger, gets to a 250 final in Sofia, and that set him up perfectly to then get to a final in his first event this past year in Australia, in Adelaide, where he lost in the 250 final there. What does that mean when you see a player kind of salvage an otherwise forgettable season like that?
To me, I just think that speaks volumes to his character. It's a testament that he's a blue-collar player. He's not afraid to get his nails dirty and get out there at a smaller tournament if need be, to go qualify even in Tokyo. So he's earned it. He had a bit of a lull in the beginning of the year, but he didn't rest on his laurels. He just went out there to the smaller tournaments and just won match by match, rescued his ranking, and now, of course, he's flying at 25 in the world.
Yeah, and has worked so hard on his game, and that's another thing to improve. He's so young and has such a huge upside, but it's what do you do on the court, but also off the court, in the gym, all of those things. And all that travel, yeah, that's still a pretty boy. All those destinations you talked about, that's a little bit of jet setting.
Fair point. That's a very fair point from Elise Bergen, who's a jet setter herself. And we are getting set here for the U.S. Open first men's semifinal. It's the world #1 Jannik Sinner trying to become the first Italian man to ever reach the finals of the U.S. Open. Matteo Berrettini got to this stage 5 years ago. He was beaten that day by the eventual champion, Rafael Nadal. Jannik Sinner, who like Berrettini has carried the banner for what's been a breakthrough for Italian tennis. We've seen the women have success here. We saw the mixed doubles champions yesterday flying the Italian flag. That was Sara Errani and Andrea Vavasori. But Jannik Sinner, he is carrying the Italian flag atop the ATP rankings. He is the world #1, and he will take Arthur Ashe Stadium momentarily for his semifinal matchup against Jack Draper on U.S. Open Radio, presented by American Express.
Get ready for the 2024 U.S. Open Tennis Championships. Get ready for the next chapter of spectacular.
Sensing the moment, approaches the baseline, answers with a backhand missing, cross court. We're going to a third set tiebreak, and the crowd is on their feet inside Ashe.
Get ready for the next highlight, the next challenger, the next to make history.
The greatest of all time turns back the clock and is moving on.
He winds up flat on his back. He's turned over. He's sobbing. And he is the U.S. Open champion.
Get ready to go all day, all night, and all the way up.
It's an ace, and the dream has become a reality.
The U.S. Open, spectacular awaits.
Very good afternoon from the USTA Billie Jean King National Tennis Center. This is U.S. Open Radio presented by American Express, and we have arrived at the Final Four in the U.S. Open men's tournament. Semifinal Friday, and up first it is the world number one, Jannik Sinner of Italy against Jack Draper of Britain. Tonight it'll be two Americans, Taylor Fritz against Frances Tiafoe. That all means we are guaranteed two first-time U.S. Open finalists and a new U.S. Open champion. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Brian Clark with David McPherson and Elise Bergen. We've got Sophie Amiach courtside. We'll be checking in with everybody as this match goes on. It's the second career meeting between Sinner and Draper. The first meeting was the very first ATP win for Jack Draper. That was on the grass at Queens 1 year after he had won Junior Wimbledon in 2018. He goes out and handles the up-and-coming Jannik Sinner in a tight match that Sophie was walking us through a few moments ago. But that just shows these two, born only a handful of months apart in 2001, the roads are different. We always say there's no same road to reach the top. Sinner, once he found his legs, it's been a very fast rise over the last 5 years. Draper had that Wimbledon win, the junior title, but then injuries and just the adjustment to life on tour. That took its toll, but these are two players that deserve their berth in this semifinal, Macca.
Yeah, it's a remarkable coincidence that Jack got his first tour win against Jannik Sinner. Not a bad one when you look back on it. And now they're playing each other in the semifinals of the U.S. Open in their second matchup. So it does give Jack a little bit of a good feeling of hope that he was able to be successful. Of course, grass is such a unique surface, so that was probably gave Jack a nice little advantage having his serve tail away so nastily. It'll be a different proposition on hard court, that's for sure.
Especially against the very dangerous Jannik Sinner. But thinking about Sinner coming into this match, and Elise, we were talking beforehand about all the off-court storms surrounding Sinner and how pretty well he's handled it over this U.S. Open. But I'm curious about the immediate short term, because everybody was saying that the quarterfinal matchup on Wednesday night between Sinner and Medvedev, that's the real U.S. Open final. These two should be playing in the final, not a quarterfinal. Whoever wins this wins the U.S. Open. Sinner's a professional. He's not thinking that way. But how do you get yourself up again after a big match against somebody you knew had won this tournament before? Get yourself up, ready to go again about 36 hours later.
Yeah, but that's men's tennis, especially men's tennis today. To win a slam, you are going to have to beat at least 3 really good guys, even if you are the number 1 seed. And so, yes, he had Medvedev, but if you go down the seedings, if you're the number 1 seed in that quarterfinal, of course you're going to be playing someone who is so dangerous. And this year it was Medvedev. So these guys, what they try to do is manage themselves through the draw. And it was important for him to get through in 4 and not have that drag out to a 5th set. It was all of these matches have been very important for Sinner. The match against Mackie McDonald, first round, he looked like he had been thinking about everything that had been going on in his life in that opening set. And on a dime, he turned that one around. And then you think about the match with Tommy Paul. He gets down the 2 breaks of serve, and most people, give that set away and are thinking about the next set. But he is a different kind of cat right now, and he is very focused.
Coming into this tournament, this is the semifinal that was widely expected to pit Sinner against Carlos Alcaraz, but Alcaraz, who went out pretty timidly against Botic van de Zandschulp, and then Draper handled Botic 6-3, 6-4, 6-2, 3 of the 15 consecutive sets that he has won to reach this U.S. Open semifinal. I'm Brian Clark here with Elise Bergen and David McPherson. Let's head courtside into Arthur Ashe Stadium. Sophie Amiach was telling us a few moments ago it's a little warmer today than it's been over the last few days, but what else jumps out to you as we await the players, Soph?
Well, what's jumping up is that it's getting packed out here, and there's one side of the Arthur Ashe that is still in the sun for the spectators. We are all in the shade here on the court, which is great for the players, so they're not going to have trouble to really keeping track of the ball. The other thing I'm thinking about Jack Draper is, this is a first for him. So I was thinking that for me, he has a lot of chances to win this match just because of how that one set that Sinner played against Medvedev, he was completely out of sorts.
We are awaiting the player interviews as this crowd files in. As Sophie was saying, it is a large crowd. Many of them saw the women's doubles final. And that was the women's doubles final won by Elena Ostapenko and Ludmila Kichenok, the 7th-seeded team. Again, Zhang Shui and Kristina Mladenovic, the unseeded pairing. So we've got 2 of our champions crowned so far. After yesterday, Andrea Vavasori, Sarah Irani won the mixed. Here's Jack Draper with James Blake.
Semi-final, I'm not used to being in this position, but you know, I've been wanting to be in this moment for a very long time, so I'm going to take it all in my stride, and it's going to be a tough battle out there.
Yeah, you haven't dropped a set yet this tournament. What do you have to do today to continue that streak?
Yeah, well, obviously, I'm up against the world #1, probably the best player on the planet right now. So I'm going to have to play some incredible tennis. I know Jannik, I know how good he is in all areas, so I'm going to have to compete like an animal out there and just give it my all.
Well, good luck out there today, Jack.
It's James Blake with Jack Draper.
As we wait on the world #1, Jannik Sinner. Jannik, you've been in this position before, but you played the last couple matches at night. How do you think the conditions will be a little different here playing during the day?
Yeah, it might be slightly faster, but you know, he's an incredible player, and just looking forward to it, and hopefully it's going to be a good match.
And do you feel like the experience you have will pay dividends here against a much more inexperienced player in these positions?
I'm still young, but let's see. I mean, it's you know, semifinals and Grand Slams. This is what we all practice for. This is, you know, special occasion. So hopefully it's going to be a good match, and yeah, hope you enjoy it.
Good luck out there, Jannik.
We'll hear the player introductions for this first men's semifinal. What a moment for Jack Draper, 22 years old, won't turn 23 until December, but about to take the court for his first ever major semifinal.
Please welcome the players for today's first semifinal. From Great Britain, making his Grand Slam semifinal debut, Jack Draper.
Draper out first as the World 25, the second lowest ranked finalist ever here on the men's side, Kevin Anderson.
And from Italy, Australian Open champion and the #1 player in the world, Jannik Sinner.
Both guys rocking the purple, Brian.
Yeah, and we talk a lot about fashion, certainly with Draper, but let's not sell Jannik Sinner short. He's got that Gucci deal. He's carrying that Gucci bag onto the court along with his racket bag. He is a stylish man himself. You see, okay, he's Italian. He must be sipping, you know, a cappuccino on a cafe in Milan. That's not Jannik Sinner's Italy. He grew up speaking German in far northern Italy, where he grew up on the ski slopes. Of course, he was a very promising skier as a kid. Can't really ski anymore as a professional tennis player. But something that caught my eye during that interview, and you can always debate how much value you can take from those interviews. You would know, Macca, you would certainly know Elise as well, that the players before the match, they go through their warm-up, whatever it may be. So they've usually worked themselves into a bit of a sweat. Jack Draper looked like he had worked himself into more than a sweat. He looked like he was lathered as he spoke to James Blake, whether that's the workout, whether that's the magnitude of the moment, but that was something that caught my eye.
Yeah, that's so true. He really did. He looked like he was in the 4th set already. So hopefully he hasn't overdone it there, getting so amped up in the gym for the match.
Boxer going into the ring.
Yeah, I remember Rafa used to just go berserk in the locker room before a match, and I was thinking, how much energy do you have, Rafa, if you're wasting this much in the locker room?
We've got the coin toss in progress right now as they await Jack Draper at net.
Hi, Jack. This is Kobe. He's going to help us today.
Young man named Kobe from Springfield, New Jersey, helping with the coin toss.
Remind us, clock here on all 4 corners, then behind us as well. The video review is available, so you can challenge certain calls if you would like to. And after the coin toss, if you can please have a photo with Kobe, and then only the 2 of you facing both ways, please. Questions?
Just the changeovers, apart from the first game from the ball girl, bring me to the ice packs in the bag.
The 2 ones. Okay,
just
no problem.
2 of them.
Yeah.
They're in there.
No problem. Yeah.
2 of them.
Yannick, would you like to call it? Your choice. Heads or tails? Heads?
Tails.
Okay. It's heads. Receive. Okay, photos, please.
So young Kobe chose for Jack Draper at Draper's instruction, and unfortunately was not successful. Still a cool moment for that youngster out here in Arthur Ashe Stadium. Kobe posing for photos with Jannik Sinner and Jack Draper, who was asking the chair umpire, Mariana Veljovic, to just instruct the ball crew to bring some ice towels out to him during the changeovers. And we'll check in with Sophie Amiak, and as Sophie was talking about how warm it is. And Sophie, as we look at how, we heard Sinner say in his pre-match interview just about how, maybe the ball will travel a little bit, the courts will play a little bit faster given the heat today. Does that favor Jack Draper in this matchup?
Look, I think that, knowing how Jannik Sinner hits the ball and the pace that he can generate, it's probably going to help him as well. But, I've seen Jack really going with the forehand as fast as the forehand of Sinner. And the serve, really, the slice serve and the power that Draper can put to that serve, I mean, it's going to take off as well. So, it's difficult for me to really say that it's going to really advantage one or the other. I mean, the conditions are not that hot. Let's not push it, but definitely hotter than if you're playing it tonight. But, in preparation, Jack Draper came in and, he started getting the bananas, the water, and now asking for the ice. I mean, the guy is really on top of things, I tell you. He's getting ready. You can't wait.
His first ever major semifinal. Jannik Sinner was just announced. The 23-year-old's had an incredible year. Sinner 53-5, 21-2 at the majors. He's 33-2 this year on hard courts. Only players to beat him were Andre Rublev in Montreal and Carlos Alcaraz at Indian Wells. Brian Clark here. You just heard from Sophie Amiak courtside. We've got David McPherson and Elise Bergen here in studio. And Maka, we were talking before the match just about that lefty serve from Draper, how he employs it and how he could employ it today against Sinner.
Well, I'm interested to ask Sophie which way the breeze is going. Is it a down breeze or a side breeze? And how hard is it blowing out there on Ashe? Oh, we lost her, didn't we?
We'll get Sophie back.
We will find that out, because we lefties, Elise and I, we're both talking, we love to use that side breeze as a lefty, but when he's serving from the end where the wind is working against him, that will be the challenging game for him to get the hold.
Okay, so we've got Sophie now. And Sophie, so which way is that slight wind charting at 3 miles an hour? Which way is it blowing?
I tell you what, I don't feel any wind down there. Absolutely nothing. So it's, you have to remember the Ashe is so covered up with, first of all, obviously the fans and then the roof. So, it's not, I don't think it's going to have any effect here.
Watching Jack Draper hit his warm-ups. He won his first title this year in Stuttgart. That was on grass, but he beat a very good grass court player in that final, Matteo Berrettini, the 250 final. So you go up against somebody, obviously Draper would have grown up playing on grass given his British upbringing, but that's shown that he's not shy of a big moment. Of course, I'm not sure a moment's ever been as big as a U.S. Open semifinal, but that represents Jack Draper's maiden ATP title as he beat Matteo Berrettini earlier this year as these two put in some serves.
That was interesting to me to hear that the conditions were so still out there on Ashe. I can still remember a Bryan brother warm-up for the match where the wind was blowing so hard. Down the court, poor old Mike could barely get a serve over the net in the warm-up. And often when they would go out there for, they played a lot of finals out there. Right. So
but David,
I don't remember it being so still.
Before the roof.
Yes, exactly.
The roof has made an incredible difference. I remember, remember the Murray Djokovic final. I remember that was pre-roof. And the wind was just swirling, and Djokovic struggled, and that was the U.S. Open that Murray won. And I just remember that match clearly, that it made such a difference how the wind would swirl more on Ashe than it did even on the outside courts. But once that roof came up, it just changed the dynamic dramatically. But it's been interesting, Sophie, at this U.S. Open, the wind on Ashe it's had an effect in a couple of matches, but clearly not what it used to be.
Not even close, and you're right. It is the roof, and before that the structure was actually like you couldn't even tell when you were outside the court if the wind was going a certain way without the roof, which way would go here because of how the wind will come up the building, down the building, hit the back of the building. It was like always so tricky for the players. I mean, it has been a complete different tournament, and the players are really, really loving it, I'm telling you, because I've seen some really matches that didn't even make any sense with the wind here.
So that's Sophie Amiach. She's courtside. She'll be keeping us up to date before we get going in this men's semifinal, putting you two on the spot. I won't ask you for a true pick. You can give it if you want. But Macca, Jannik Sinner wins if fill in the blank.
Well, I think for Jannik Sinner not to win, Jack Draper will really have to play the match of his life, because Jannik is so solid mentally, barely has a weakness in his game, and one of his great strengths is his return to serve, his range, and so that could very potentially nullify one of the things that Jack Draper does so well.
It's a great job of answering the question that you wanted to answer, not the question I asked.
Or
Elise
ask
Bergen.
it again. You've got to ask.
Okay, I'll ask
Do I have to
Elise.
fill in the blank? Was this a
Fill in the blank, yeah. So
question?
and
I've already forgotten.
Macca still answered the question, but Jannik Sinner wins if blank, as Jack Draper will serve first.
Serves well, returns well, and is his imposing, powerful self. Big hitter.
Jannik Sinner certainly the favorite on paper, but based on form, this is going to be a tussle for a spot in the U.S. Open final. Jack Draper will serve first. He has been broken just 3 times in 63 games so far in this U.S. Open. And there he flies that forehand long. It's love 15.
You can see right away, well, we were able to see right away how much he's able to make that ball move away from the right-hander's backhand. And Jannik Sinner would know from the stats that are available to him that on that deuce side, he serves 70% of his first serves to the backhand. And he still barely reached that ball.
That serve into net. Jack Draper only played on Arthur Ashe Stadium for the very first time in his quarterfinal win over Alex de Minaur, as he double faults here in a nervy start to this semifinal. That serve missed deep into the net.
Yeah, and you understand that. Playing your first Grand Slam semi, there's just going to be a lot going on in between the ears. Just got to calm yourself down.
Draper with that black hat turned backwards, that purple and fuchsia shirt. Missed that serve up the center. Trying to spin it away from Sinner up the tee. Second serve, he sends it up the center. A backhand return, a good one from Sinner. First extended point of this match, and it's Sinner doing the dictating for the baseline. Forehand stretching Draper out into a backhand. Sinner meets it with a forehand, hits the tape, and that took it long. Draper gets the fortunate break. That's just what he needed to get on the board in this semifinal, 15-30.
Yeah, second serve points should be really challenging for Jack today. If Jannik gets a good strike on that ball and gets ahead in the point, his mobility will be tested.
Draper close to unbeatable on the first serve points. He's winning 81% of them for this U.S. Open. That was a great first serve. That's been his weapon here in the ad court. The lefty contingent here on my left side.
We kind of were squeezing each other's
yeah.
arms when we saw that. Because it's short in the court, and that's what he wants. But got to get that first serve in, because if it's a lot of second serves, it's going to be a tough day.
Draper, as we said, only has lost 3 of his 63 service games in this U.S. Open at 30 all. He thunderbolts that lefty serve from the deuce court. 128 miles an hour for an ace. It's 40-30.
That'll be a critical serve for him today, to have the variety to ace Jannik to the forehand plenty of times.
40-30. He went tee and sent it long. Draper about 2 yards to the left of that center hash mark, serves out wide. That was a good second serve that Sinner couldn't get back in play. So after a nervy first 2 points, Draper does not lose a point and holds to begin this semifinal. Sophie Amiach is courtside with the early observations.
So here is my answer to what the Jack Draper has to do to win here. I think he has to manage his emotion. That's first. But then I want you all to try to keep track on how many points when he's serving, he's winning on the outside. 15-30, win. 40-30, win. I'm telling you that the lefty is going to be so important here. And Sinner hasn't played that many lefty in his career, but he did lose 4 times. One of them was against whom? Jack Draper. And he knows that. He knows he's done it once. And as Billie Jean King said, when you do it once, you can always do it again.
Very good points. Those important points are played in the ad court, and that's the natural benefit to the lefty. Although it's worth noting this year Sinner's 4-0 against lefties. He's beaten Ben Shelton twice. In fact, he's only lost one set as he serves here to the lefty, Jack Draper. Now a forehand cross court on the due side. Sinner firing away on the forehand. Draper runs it down with the backhand cross into a forehand. To his left goes Sinner. He went a little bit bigger with that backhand cross, but missed it into the alley. It's love 15.
Yeah, and it's a good point saying that he hasn't played the lefties, and his backhand cross court is to the Draper forehand, and we'll see what Draper does. When Draper's hitting those forehands, is he just going to be content going cross court to cross court and stay away from the big forehand of Sinner, or is he going to test that forehand also?
Love 15 down the center he goes, and that returns long from Draper. It's 15 all.
But that opening hold is just a huge sigh of relief for Jack Draper. Love 30 with a double fault and a wild forehand, but his serve bailed him out. Jannik didn't really cover the lefty spin particularly well in the first game, and now he can relax a little bit, and he's into the match, got his teeth into the match already.
Draper is about 3 yards off that far baseline. He is deep to receive serve. Do want to keep an eye on Draper's movement, because the one medical timeout we saw in that quarterfinal, we assumed it would have been for de Minaur when we saw the trainer and the physio at the tunnel, and then they came out and started working on Jack Draper's right thigh, gave it a pretty heavy tape job. You can see it a little bit under his purple shorts that he's got some kind of wrapping on that right thigh. He said he just picked up a little, I think he called it a little niggle, just because of whatever had happened, but did not affect him in winning that match. 30-15 here for Sinner. He's got that black hat turned forward, sage-colored top and darker shorts. That toss, he goes up to center, leaning, and deep backhand return from Draper, who now steps in with a backhand cross. Short forehand into a backhand cross from Draper. Sinner trades. They go backhand into the righty's forehand. It's the lefty's backhand that's netted, and it's 40-15 here for Sinner.
You see already Jannik Sinner being very patient, just taking the cross-court forehand to the Draper backhand. That's the statistics say that the backhand up the middle of the court is Jack's least successful pattern. So I could see Jannik playing a very straight bat, so to speak, and just playing high percentage just to the backhand side of the middle a lot in this match.
40-15 here for the world number one, and that toss, he goes out wide, opened up the court, and tried for the +1, but he missed the forehand.
And goes with that cross-court serve. It's going to be interesting to watching the serves, because we saw Draper hit his spots in that opening game when he needed it. Sinner, at the moment, he kind of just putting that serve in, not necessarily trying to hit spots, but eventually you've got to think that he's going to want to get free points. Right now, Draper is getting these serves back because Sinner's kind of just putting them in.
80% humidity here on this 75-degree Friday in New York City. 40-30 for Sinner, and ace, his first of the match. Yeah, exactly.
Great coaching, Elise.
He holds for 1-all here in this semifinal opening set.
One game all, first set.
Now it's on Draper. We've been talking a lot about Draper's very baggy, very oversized shirt. He changed his sneakers after that quarterfinal win into the old-school Andre Agassi. Brad Gilbert, who was doing the interview and who was coaching Agassi back in the 90s, he appreciated the footwear. Then Draper said he has no idea how Andre used to play in those shoes. That first serve missed from Jack Draper. The 22-year-old's toss. Ooh, he sent it long and then caught the balls. It was blocked back by Sinner. But he did something there on that second serve, Macca. He's not done a lot of, let's go body on Jannik Sinner.
He goes body a decent amount on second serve, but very, very rarely on first.
At love 15, he goes tee, and Sinner deflects it backwards. It's, as you would say in cricket, caught behind by somebody in the president's box. It's 15-all.
And early on, you see that he's going to mix these serves up, which you have to do against Sinner. Even though the bread and butter is going to be that wide one, you got to keep the guy honest, and terrific up the tee.
Sophie mentioned the Sinner wins against lefties previously in his career, but he has really tightened it up this year. He's played 11 sets against lefties. He's lost just one. Short backhand return from Sinner. Draper was there. Now Sinner injects pace with a backhand, moves right, goes cross-court with a forehand. Backhand middle from Draper. Backhand middle Sinner, backhand middle Draper. They trade. Sinner loops that forehand. Draper takes it with a deep backhand. Draper's up for Sinner's variety here, and it's Sinner who airmailed the forehand long, 30-15 for Draper.
That was an uncharacteristic miss by Jannik Sinner, going for the forehand up the line after he had stayed patient into the backhand. We saw Jack Draper slide around and turn a backhand into a forehand, which opened up the gap to hit a winner down the line, but Jannik misfired badly on that one. Just opening jitters.
Draper tugs at that baggy top with his right hand, and now the lefty serve. Ace, his second. He thumps it down the center at 126.
And it's not always how fast it is. It's where you're hitting it in the box. And again, hit his spot right up the tee.
He's a big guy, 6'4", and uses that leverage well. He gets that serve out wide. Great job by Sinner just to get that back. And now they reset into a neutral point. Backhand Sinner, and it's Draper who missed the forehand. But what a return by Sinner, and that's the danger of Sinner there.
Now, that was a fantastic wide serve to the forehand that would have aced just about anyone else in the planet. But he's very rangy, as I said before, a long arm, and he was able to just extend the point, make the big server play one more shot. And that takes its toll as the match goes on.
40-30 here for Draper. Has to play extra points, whereas you said against anybody else, he'd be on the chair right now. The changeover. They trade from the baseline. It's a forehand Sinner. Now a forehand Draper. The lefty forehand pulls Sinner. He tried to hit the running forehand on an angle, but he missed it wide. Draper holds, and after that nervy first service game, no real problems in the second for the world number 25. Draper looks just fine out there in Arthur Ashe Stadium. Sophie Amiak courtside in Arthur Ashe Stadium as this crowd continues to fill it up. And yeah, we just see Draper looks like he runs hot. He goes right to that air conditioning tube. He's got the ice towel, but he is getting a workout. So,
well, you got to remember where he's from, okay? He's from Great Britain, so it's, you know, those conditions are pretty hot for them, number one. But on the other hand, I mean, what I love to watch is that he's really matching the forehand of Sinner in most cases during the point, which is very important. And the one that he missed, you know, it was slightly late on the backhand, right at him down the middle. That's when he missed that backhand. But Sinner, you know, one shank and one forehand really deep during the same exchange. I mean, you didn't maybe see the shank that landed on the baseline, and after that he completely missed the forehand by at least 4 or 6 feet, and that's telling that there's something of the forehand of Sinner that is not completely timing wise perfect. And I think that Draper has a chance to definitely, if he keeps at it and he keeps his emotion really in check, to do really well today.
That'll be something to watch as this match goes forward. Draper takes off his ice towel, and we get a look at the Draper box on our screen as coach James Trotman. They've had a great year. He had Wayne Ferreira in the setup until earlier this year when they parted ways. Of course, Ferreira, a former top 10 player, did great work with Frances Tiafoe, but he certainly made a big contribution to the 2024 for Jack Draper, and James Trotman as well to guide him forward.
Tremendous coaching staff. I mean, Wayne Ferreira was just a magnificent player, and he did fantastic work with Frances Tiafoe in his time with Frances.
We'll see Tiafoe and Taylor Fritz tonight in the semifinal to play one of these two in the Sunday final as Jack Draper nets a running forehand. First point of this game to Jannik Sinner.
Yeah, and Sophie talked about some of the Sinner forehands a little bit off and timing a little off. And I think you've got to get him early, because that's what happened. The Mackie McDonald did in that first set in the first round, and Tommy Paul couldn't take advantage. But once he gets grooved, he is just so tough.
Big flat serve from Sinner out wide, and then Sinner drills a forehand. Now he's at net to snap home the overhead after Draper was trying to hang in that point and fighting admirably, but it's 30-love for Sinner.
Yes, especially since hiring Darren Cahill to help his coaching staff. His net game's improved dramatically, rapidly, and he's certainly not afraid to come forward on a powerful ground stroke and polish off the volley at the net now.
Would you say that's been Sinner's biggest improvement and growth as a player, just more offense in his game?
And serve. He's tried out a couple of different service motions in the last couple of years, and he and Darren have really done some great work there, I think.
He's got a second serve here, and a good forehand return for an outright winner from Jack Draper. 90 miles an hour, and he did not get that far enough away from Draper, who turned that lefty return into a winner.
Yes, and if Draper gets a look at a second serve like he got here, he's got to do some damage and punish it, and got to be looking to be aggressive when he gets that opportunity.
On serve in this semifinal, Jannik Sinner at 30-15, 1-2 to Jack Draper. Sinner goes out wide, and Draper not get much of anything on that serve. He will not get a look at a second serve. That was a great serve from Sinner, heavy, wide into the ad court at 122.
I feel like he's really been hitting that one well on the ad side, sort of a la Boris Becker, that iconic ace wide against Kevin Curran. That's the serve that I see Jannik hitting really, really well of late.
Sinner turned 23 just before this U.S. Open started. Serves out wide. That was a good backhand return, though, into a slice backhand now from Draper. A forehand Sinner. Draper pulled left. Lefty forehand. Sinner flattens it out with a powerful forehand. Now steps in, drives the backhand. Draper has the open court and sends a deep backhand. Now he steps in and tried to angle a backhand, kind of a drop slice, but he didn't do much of anything well, and Sinner holds for 2-all.
Yeah, well, Draper trying to play defense that point, and it's not going to be easy playing defense against Sinner. Draper is the type of player, he's going to want to be looking to take an offensive posture, and Sinner makes it so tough for you to do that.
Especially when Jannik's serving, it's going to be very difficult. And as Brian said, second serve return will be key. Get in there on the baseline, just inside it, and punish every second serve you get your eyes on.
14 minutes into this semifinal, it's been pretty even. Neither players had a look at a break point. The servers have held without too much difficulty. Draper at 2-all. Biggest difficulty came when Draper missed the first 2 points of the match with a double fault and a nervy-looking miss. Here's a second serve for Draper. He goes out wide. Sinner was shuffling towards the tee, but Draper didn't put it there. They trade from the baseline. Draper with the backhand, Sinner a forehand. That two-hand backhand up the right sideline now from Jack Draper. And it's Sinner who missed again down the line by a lot, that time with a backhand. It's 15-love.
And we talk about players and all the work they put in and the hard work, and my Draper's put in a lot of work on that backhand. It is pretty consistent. It's got more pace than it did in the past.
It's a relatively flat shot, prefers the cross court, but as he showed there, pretty comfortable taking it down the line now also.
Second serve here for Draper. That toss and that serve up right into the body. A forehand return from Sinner, who now goes backhand cross court. Forehand up the left sideline for Draper, who's in at net with a backhand volley to put it away. Had to get the racket up high for it, but had no problems with it. Crowd liking what it's seen from Draper. It's 30-love.
Really nice forehand up the line there from Jack Draper. Jannik Sinner hit the backhand cross court with good velocity. Jack did a nice job of abbreviating his backswing, so it wasn't too long. He was able to get the racket face through, absorb the pace down the line. A very, very positive play from him.
Serve down the center, serve and volley play from Draper. Did not need to hit the volley as Sinner couldn't get the serve back in play. 40-love.
And it's just so important to cruise through a service game like this and put your stamp on it, and then you get right back to it, trying to work on the break a serve of Sinner.
At 40-love, Draper's toss goes out into the backhand. Sinner's return is wide. A love hold for Jack Draper. By far his best service game. And again, neither player has faced a break point on serve. Very even start through 16 minutes as they sit down with Sinner at 2-3. Brian Clark here with Elise Bergen and David McPherson. Sophie Amiak is courtside, where Draper's looking a bit more comfortable.
Yeah, very comfortable in the service game, to say the least. And, I was looking a little bit at Sinner, and he was really upset at one point because he's feeling that, he's sweating so much from his hands and his arms that he can't really hold the racket. He had to go to the towel, and you could tell that he was very upset when he missed that backhand long. That racket just couldn't hold the racket as much, and that's, might be a criteria to using more than, one. Does he have any? I don't even think he has any wristbands, but that's, that's something very important. He has one on his right arm, but, you might as well use one on the left arm as well when you have a two-handed backhand. I'm surprised he's not putting one on right now, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, and he doesn't have the big the cooling packs and the air flowing into him, where you look at Draper. He's getting nice and cool
Yeah,
every change.
Yeah, he threw his racket after that backhand into the, where the towels are to go towel off, and he was really kind of like annoyed by the fact that he couldn't hold the racket.
Oh, there's nothing worse than when you've got a slippery grip, is there, Sophie? I mean, you
No,
just can't
you're right.
feel like you can hit your shots.
Do you remember the times and the days of, of doing sawdust with the sawdust, and
Lendl.
Ivan
Lendl,
Lendl
you
had
just
like a
picture
pocket
Lendl.
full of it?
Oh
yeah.
my goodness,
I
he
just
would
played a
just
tournament in
sprinkle it on the
pickleball
court.
with Ivan Lendl, by the way, just not to brag, but that was
Oh,
pretty
did you?
interesting. Yeah, I'll talk to you about
I'm sure
this
you
off
took
air.
him down comfortably.
No, we were together on the same side. That was better.
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
sorry.
You had to get the pickle in, didn't you? You had to get the pickle in.
Come on, it's all good. Let's live with both sports together.
Pickle juice color shirt for Jannik Sinner as he is up to the line to serve here at 2-3 in this men's singles semifinal. He's done a much better job of getting that first serve in than Draper. We've talked about how powerful Draper's first serve has been coming into this match, but Draper's problem, he's not getting the first serve in enough, just 9 of 16 times. That was just the third first serve and 12 points that Sinner has failed to get in. They play here on the second serve. Sinner's pressuring at net. Oh, that's the approach we talked about, and that's Sinner just turning the screw to win that point.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we talk about the lefty and the wide serve in the ad court to the righty. Well, if you're a righty, you got to take advantage of that wide serve in the deuce court to the lefty, and he did that perfectly, that opening point, and set the point up off of that wide serve.
19 minutes into this semifinal. It's 15-love for Sinner here at 2-3 in the first, and he goes flat and out wide. No response from Draper. He cracked that one at 122.
Jannik's just developed an amazing torso twist lately that I feel like is just opening up all the angles in the court. Really worked hard on his technique, and I feel like just he gets so much torque by this big twist that he has now in his service motion.
I want to ask you about that twist after this point here at 30-love, and there's that toss and the serve. It's flat and into the net, so one of the rare misses for Sinner on first serve so far. He's won 2 of what have just been 3 second serve points, and this second serve point right into the backhand. Remember Draper at that one winner off a second serve, and Sinner's been almost perfect on second serve since then. He wins another one as Draper misses long. Is the twist more about the different angles it opens up or the more power that it gives the server?
The more power. If you remember John McEnroe's serve, how turned he was. It was quite extreme, but he had an amazing lefty serve generated by that. Jannik's not quite that extreme with the way he sets up his back leg, but his right hip really goes back as far as it possibly can, creating maximum torque into the serve.
Batting practice there for Sinner. A huge serve at 119 down the center. Draper blocked it with the backhand, and Sinner took it inside in from the center of the baseline for a winner. He holds it love. Back-to-back love holds. 3 games all in this opening set.
Yeah, and it's interesting to think that when Cahill came on the scene, I think that's when they really addressed the serve and working on that, on the torque, on the rotation, but also the step up. Totally different than what it was.
Serve down the center, and then Draper had to hit a second shot off a good Sinner return. Just missed the backhand. Pretty routine backhand that he missed from the baseline into net. It's love 15.
And probably the best return of first serve that Jannik's found on the backhand side thus far in the match. He needs more of those.
Misses that first serve. That first serve, that's been the problem here for Draper. Second serve out into the backhand, a deep return, forehand from the left side. The lefty forehand effective for Draper on the right sideline. Sinner at a slide, can't get it back. It's 15 all.
Yeah, and does such a nice job with that wide one. And my feeling is until you show me that you can handle that serve, that wide one, and put me in trouble, I'm going to keep going there.
It's been cat and mouse so far on serve for both players. 15 all, 3 all opening set. Draper missed that first serve. Doesn't seem like he's honed in that T serve. He really wants it there, but he's been unable to get them to go on first serve. Second serve out wide. Oh, what a return from Sinner at full stretch on the forehand. He looked like Stretch Armstrong, how he got that ball across and deep. And Draper couldn't adjust and missed his forehand long. It's 15-30.
We've seen already Jannik Sinner have different depths of return position. He's played deep a few times. That time, he really got up on the baseline and got some more immediate pressure on the server, which I think is ideal for him.
At 15-30. That serve missed. Another second serve coming.
And it's interesting that Sinner's giving him a little room on that wide one, not standing to cut it off necessarily.
Body serve from Draper, now forehand, a winner from Jack Draper, 30-all.
Yeah, Jack Draper's very brave on the forehand. He's going to trust that, as he should. He does not want to get into too many protracted rallies with Jannik Sinner. If he sees a forehand he likes the look of, he's going to pull the trigger. And he just launched that one down the line to get it back to 30-all. Not the highest quality Sinner return that I've ever seen. He's probably kicking himself for not getting a little bit more meat on that second serve return.
At 30-all, he goes down the center and missed it long.
This time Sinner playing super deep. I guess variety is a big part of the game plan.
Second serve down the center, serve and volley and passed. Sinner saw Draper coming. He saw the play unfolding and was able to exploit that second serve into a backhand down the right side. And here's the first break chance of the match.
Yeah, and there's that school of thought. If your man is standing way behind that baseline to return, that you might get away with a serve and volley, but didn't do enough with the serve.
Thank you.
And Jannik's backhand technique is excellent. His shoulder turn is full.
Break point. Draper's been broken just 3 times in 63 service games in this U.S. Open. Now he's got to come up with a second serve after missing that one wide here in the ad court. That lefty serve, the backhand return. Now forehand cross court from Draper. Backhand cross Sinner. Draper's wide with the forehand. Draper's broken. Sinner moves ahead here in the opening set.
New balls, please.
Sinner in front 4-3. He will serve with new balls, and Sophie Amiak, it can just take a couple of moments, and it didn't. Have you noticed Sinner making more progress on these returns?
Well, of course, but you know what really was noticeable is you can't, against the #1 player in the world on 30-40 point, not put your first serve in. I mean, I wish he had gone with maybe a little less pace, more slice, short. Using his left paw, and Elise Bergen will know that because she's a lefty. She's done it so many times against me and against many players, so she can relate to this. You don't have to hit it that hard. You need to put that first serve in on a break point, especially against Sinner. And Sinner knew that on the second serve, he was like golden. And
only serving 45% first serves, and that's just not going to get it done.
That's not going to be enough
against someone like Sinner, who is just waiting. He is just lurking.
Yeah, the other thing is, you mentioned earlier that the 40-15 is where the righty can have the exact same feeling of serving with the wide serve and getting that slice, short in the box. But 3 out of the 4 serves who are for game point are played on the ad side right now. I mean, this is one of my pet peeves in tennis. I said it from, the day that I was playing the Martina Navratilova, saying that this is not fair. You have to make this fair. And I think, personally, that going to the no-ad scoring will help this for once, because all the righty against lefties will go and take the deuce side to return. But more importantly, it will speed up the game, which we really need to do this to attract the young kids to tennis.
Yeah, all some of the initiatives that have been talked about, of course, playing the Lets now in the juniors and all the other modifications made to the game and to the professional tour over the last couple of years. But here is Jannik Sinner. He is atop the ATP, the men's professional tour, with a serve down the center. Now he pulls Draper right. Draper with a deep backhand. Now a short forehand from the British player. A slice backhand from Sinner. Cross-court forehand Draper. Backhand from Sinner. Forehand cross Draper. Sinner nets his backhand. And it's love 15.
Nice baseline point from Jack there. Stayed patient. Any baseline rally that he wins against Jannik Sinner, he's feeling really good about himself.
Yes, he would be. Those type of exchanges do not favor Draper, but you're absolutely right. He will take any gift he's given.
Or the encouragement from his team courtside. James Trotman, his coach. At love 15, here's Sinner. Draper's deep behind the baseline, and that serve missed long. He was going out wide in the ad court, was Jannik Sinner.
Draper's staying very deep on second serve as well this particular time.
And it comes down the center, and Draper had it read perfectly, so he cracked a deep forehand return that Sinner could not handle. Not the greatest return you'll ever see. He read it well, but just got it back deep. He played the percentages, and now he's got a chance here.
Yeah, but had plenty of spin on it, so pushed Sinner behind that baseline. And that puts pressure on him.
And he's able to put more spin on his forehand, and that's why he played deep, so he could slide around it and create that spin with a forehand.
Now Sinner in a hole here, love 30. He's got to come up with a second serve. This second serve, it floats into the backhand of Draper, cross court, big forehand from Sinner. Draper's there though with a cross court forehand. Sinner crushing these forehands from the center of the baseline, pulling Draper right. Jack now injects some depth with a backhand, another deep backhand from Draper. He opens up into a forehand. He puts some more shape under that ball, has the open line, but stays cross court. It's Sinner who rolled the dice, but came up snake eyes. He netted the forehand down the line, and it is triple break point for Draper.
Yeah, little nerves from Sinner because that shot was short in the court from Draper, and Sinner could not take advantage of it with his favorite shot.
And this crowd getting behind the moment after Sinner just broke. Looked like he was going to storm through the set. Now Jack Draper has 3 break points against the world number 1. Serve down the center. That was a clutch first serve. He needed a first serve. Just the second time in 4 points this game he's gotten one. 15-40.
Very precise up the tee, moving it away from the Jack Draper left-handed backhand. Jack, even though Jack was playing really deep, he only got the frame on it there. He was so outstretched.
First break point saved, now another to go as Sinner works that serve clock down. It's inside of 5 seconds. Looks across the net. Now the pause and the toss and the serve. He missed it just long here on break point number 2. We're in the 8th game of the opening set here in the men's semifinal. It's Sinner in front 4-3. Second serve, he floats it deep into the box. A backhand return, Draper. Sinner goes big forehand. Draper misses with his forehand from deep behind the baseline. And that's 2 break points saved by Sinner.
It's only the first set, but this is a big moment right here for Jack Draper. He's been gifted a love 40. He really needs to convert this and stay in the match. Otherwise, Sinner's confidence could just flow into him, and that could be trouble.
You can't miss neutral balls, especially in that type of situation when you're already down that break of serve.
Now a 3rd break point for Sinner to try to save it. He missed that serve long. That miss on that neutral ball, that was the 10th unforced error for Draper to 6 winners. Sinner's even at 7-7. Soft second serve down the center, a backhand middle from Draper. He played that one safe. Now they trade. Cross court on the deuce side. It's the Draper backhand, the Sinner forehand. Now Draper opens up into the forehand here on break point, and Sinner misses. Into net as he tried to go down the right sideline. Draper breaks right back for 4-all here in the opening set.
Wow, even great players sometimes have a poor service game, and Jannik Sinner would be kicking himself there. It was all unforced errors on his part that led to that break back of serve there. Jack Draper did a nice job of putting the returns in play. Wasn't so much the quality of shot. Jannik had easy forehands by his standards, and he netted them trying to blast them inside into the Jack Draper backhand, 2 of them.
Yeah, and uncharacteristic from him, but what we've seen this whole event is that when he starts to make a couple errors, he seems to just regroup very quickly.
Great serve from Draper out wide that Sinner just couldn't quite deal with it. Ate him up a bit in the deuce court. It's 15-love.
I think the humidity is bothering him. He's just blowing on his hand a lot.
Rubbing his shorts, the whole thing.
Talking about Sinner as Draper misses that first serve by feet,
almost
not inches.
hit him.
Yeah.
He almost got the point anyway.
I think he's smiling about it. It hit the baseline, my goodness.
Now the second serve, and missed that one. Won't be smiling now as he flies it into the net. It's 15-all. Yeah, to your point about the humidity and the conditions maybe bothering Sinner, before this game, Sinner went to his seat to get a new racket, and he was already kind of playing with the air conditioning controls, that tube that blows the cooled air. It's like he wanted it to be on full blast by the time he gets there after this game coming up here. 15 all. Forehand deep from Draper. Now a backhand cross from Sinner. Forehand line Draper. Sinner at full stretch with a deep forehand. That pushed Draper back. Now Sinner comes in full attack. A defensive lob. Draper was his only play. It missed long. What tenacious attacking from Jannik Sinner.
Well, but tremendous defending from Sinner. Pulled out wide in that deuce court to the tram lines and handles that so well from the extremes of the court. This guy, Sinner, is just so good, so reminiscent of what Nadal was doing, what Djokovic has done, and he's the next generation of he and Alcaraz playing so well.
15-30 here for Draper, and he just missed that one up the center. Draper with that look across the court. Now the second serve out wide into the Sinner backhand. What a return, Sinner, but a better pass! That's the left-handedness of Jack Draper on full display. Sinner hit a dazzling return of serve, but Draper was able to muster up enough strength in the forehand to muscle that ball around the net post.
Just cutting the angle so well, Draper, on this one, really going towards the bounce of the ball to create that opportunity with the winner. But, you know, Sinner was making way Draper to start serving in this game because, again, his hands are slippery. And he's trying to get that machine to work that wasn't working and ask the referee, can we get this working, to try to dry out his hand.
That'll be something to watch after this game. That serve down the center from Draper here. 4-all, 30-all, opening set semifinal. Deep backhand Sinner. Draper to his right with the backhand. Backhand cross Sinner. Now a forehand cross from Draper. Sinner nets. 40-30 here for Draper.
Yeah, this is as inconsistent as I've seen Jannik Sinner from the baseline in quite some time. Missing routine balls. I'm sure it's the humidity. He's just feeling that grip move in his hand just a tiny bit, and of course he hits the ball at a ferocious pace, so any little slip of the grip is really bothersome to him.
Just blowing on his hands again, Sinner. Here's a serve and volley. Draper, he hits that volley low. Sinner had a passing look, but he was wide. Draper storming back in this opening set, and it's Sinner trying to figure things out at 4-5 on US Open Radio, presented by American Express.
Well, US Open Radio presented by American Express. Sophie Amiak here courtside. I tell you, I mean, this hand and the slippery, grip from Sinner has been really the problem in this set. Now he's trying to use it and use the air blower on the hand. I really feel like, telling him, hey, just put a wristband on that left wrist. But how about Draper? Listen, there are two things that are really the most difficult things to do in men's tennis, as Boris Becker said many times. Consolidating the break, and that's exactly what Sinner couldn't do. And the second one is going through the finish line. So, this is no mistakes that he was broken, because Draper just started to play some incredible tennis, and that forehand down the line was exquisite earlier.
Yeah, he was showing his full range of capabilities, and now it is Sinner trying to hold to extend this first set, missing that first serve from the near baseline. Brian Clark with David McPherson and Elise Bergen here. You just heard Sophie Amiak courtside. Sinner's second serve out into the backhand cross court. A great return from Draper. Cross court forehand, backhand down the line. Right play from Draper, but just a bit off. Just a bit outside, as you might say from the classic movies over the years. It's 15 love.
And you think about the humidity. Remember, he played his last two matches, Sinner, at night, and now he's come out during the daytime, and it's a whole different dynamic.
That's a great point, Elise. Honestly, That is really bothering him right now, and it's a factor in the match.
Sinner looks across the net here at 15-love. Thumps that serve deep and long at 123 miles an hour. When these two played in their first meeting more than 3 years ago, they played 2 tie breaks, and Draper won both for his first AT pin. Another big miss by Sinner, who just mistimed that forehand. The ball wound up deep into the seats here in Ash, and it's 15-all.
And that one's going to make the country clubbers feel pretty good about themselves. Just off kilter at the moment. But what we've seen from him is that he makes these adjustments when he has struggled in sets in this U.S. Open.
Serve down the center, a forehand middle from Draper. Now a backhand cross from Draper. Forehand on the run from Sinner. Middle forehand Sinner. Draper's there with the backhand, pulling Sinner right. Sinner meets it with a forehand. Backhand cross from Draper. Draper loves that play. Now he tightens the angle, but he missed it just long. Seeing a little more aggression from Draper in this passage of play.
Yeah, Jack really laced 3 or 4 backhands cross court. They're really trusting his shot, but Jannik Sinner's forehand was up to the challenge. He stayed compact, he stayed balanced, and eventually one of those Jack Draper backhands cross court sailed a fraction long.
30-15 here for Sinner. We've looked at those unforced error numbers. Sinner's got 10. 6 of them have come off the forehand wing. That's the one that's just misfiring right now. 30-15, he serves out wide. That's a forehand return. Now Sinner able to direct that forehand winner up the left sideline. The serve +1 works. It's 40-15.
And that's the shot he's been missing, at least, isn't it? It's the forehand inside in, where he's trying to whip it to the Jack Draper backhand. He's hit that a fraction too flat into the tape a couple of times. That would feel good for him to make that shot that time and maybe feel like, okay, I've got my radar locked in now.
We saw the fist pump afterwards. Knows how important that dynamic is for him.
Serves it. It's blocked back by Draper. A backhand Sinner. Now forehand from Draper. A forehand. Sinner was going for it. Went a little too bold with that forehand. He missed it inside in into the alley. And it's 40-30. It's unforced error number 11, or excuse me, number 7 off the forehand.
Yeah, and that should be a routine cross-court forehand for Sinner. So just a little out of sorts, and Draper's got to recognize this, that he's got some opportunity now.
At 40-30, Sinner peers across the court to figure out where Draper's lined up. He's deep, and Sinner goes out wide. Backing up is Sinner, and then just long with another forehand miss. Trying to keep it cross court, but instead he missed it. He's not through this game yet. It's deuce.
Yeah, well, you got to get this guy while he's cold. He may be hot with his hands and all that stuff and gripping the racket, but his tennis at the moment is cooled down, and this is a real chance for Draper to maybe steal this opening set.
2 points away from doing just that unless Sinner can right the ship. That serve was so potent over the first half of this set, but it's not been an effective weapon here. That wide serve from Sinner, then a deep forehand middle, forehand from Draper. Now a forehand cross from Sinner, backhand middle from Draper, backhand again, now an off forehand from Draper on the run. Sinner, Draper's got the opening, sends the backhand. Sinner recovers with a short backhand from Draper, backhand middle Sinner, forehand from Draper, backhand cross. Sinner injects some pace. Draper can't deal with it. Advantage Sinner.
And that was a grueling rally. A furious exchange. No one taking much pace off the ball. Eventually, Jannik's cross-court backhand carried such weight and velocity that the Jack Draper forehand caught it a fraction late. Contact point was a little more on the throat of the strings, and it sailed wide subsequently.
56 points in this match. Just 7 have gone more than 9 shots. That was 15 in that exchange, the longest of the match. Of those 56 points in the match, each player has won 28 of them. Sinner wants this one for 5-all. And he's got it with an ace out wide for Jannik Sinner, his second of the match. We've got 5-all through 42 minutes in this men's singles semifinal.
Yeah, very engrossing first set. I see Darren Cahill using the iPad monitor. I haven't really seen him do that much before, but I'm sure he's seen that the stats, the forehand errors have been a little bit of a problem so far this set.
Yeah, those forehand errors have been the issue for Jannik Sinner. Serve down the center. It looked like Draper was going to play a serve and volley, but he retreated to the baseline. Now a cross-court forehand for Sinner, a backhand from Draper. A forehand, Sinner hugs the sideline. Sinner off the back foot with a middle forehand. Draper a forehand, backhand cross into a forehand middle Draper. Sinner tried to crush that forehand, and maybe no shot better sums up the forehand struggles for Sinner than that miss. That was a routine ball, and he just missed it.
Eerily reminiscent of the Carlos Alcaraz match in the early going. His forehand, which is normally such a strength, was just way off that night and led to his demise. Seems like every time Jannik goes for a big forehand, he's misfiring, and that could be due to the slippery grip.
Serve out wide, blocked away wide of everything and long by Sinner. It's 30-love. You heard 2 points ago Mariana Veljovic asking the crowd to be quiet during play, saying it was disturbing to the players. It's 30-love here for Jack Draper. Draper's acquitted himself very well here in his maiden major semifinal. He's never been to a final above the 250 level. Never a 500 final, never a Masters final, and certainly never a major final. Body serve into a backhand return, a short one from Sinner, who now goes forehand middle, backhand middle from Draper. Forehand from Sinner, backhand cross. Draper missed it wide into the alley, and it's 30-15.
Yeah, and Sinner just steadying himself down for these last couple points, and you know, sometimes maybe you just have to dial it back a little bit until you get your range and get your feel back.
Right here, mate.
His dialing it back, he usually averages 78 miles an hour off the forehand, so maybe dial it back to about 72 and you're still pretty good.
Draper missed that first serve. That's been a bugaboo for Draper here in this opening set. Fewer than half of those first serves, he's getting them in. There he double faults. Fourth time in the set, and it's 30-all.
30-all.
You can see, we can see Jack Draper's shirt very, very heavy with sweat, and the humidity is a factor for both players here.
Here we go, Jack.
James Trotman trying to keep the energy up from Draper's box. Courtside, his brother Ben also there. His brother Ben played college tennis in the U.S. University of California out in Berkeley. Ace from Draper. Draper Camp like that lefty ace. It's 40-30.
And that's not the one that Jannik Sinner would be expecting on a big point. As I said before, on that side of the court, 70% of the time he goes to the backhand. So if he can execute the big one to the forehand.
He goes out wide again. It looked like he was going to come in, but now wait to the baseline for that cross-court forehand. Has the open court forehand drop shot. Here comes Sinner, though, with a backhand. Just caught the baseline. What a reflex from Draper, but it was wide. Sinner covering a whole lot of ground as Draper maybe took his foot off the gas in that point.
Yeah, and Draper knows he needed to put that one away. He let Sinner back in. Sinner was way behind the baseline, and Draper going for that drop shot. I understand the thought, but he could have just thumped a forehand and he would have been changing sides.
So a few moments ago, it was Sinner all of a sudden in a dangerous position at deuce. He was 2 points away from losing the set. Draper is 2 points away from being broken for the second time in the set, which would allow Sinner to try to serve out the first set. Second serve here from Draper. He goes out wide, plays serve and volley. Backhand, he bunted that volley wide because Sinner blasted that return, and now it is a break point for Jannik Sinner.
And I'm giving this to David to describe.
Yes, because we saw Jannik Sinner move back way deep on second serve, and sure enough, Jack Draper serve volleyed again. So I think that's clearly been the game plan. If you see Sinner drop back deep, let's serve volley. He just hasn't been able to execute it thus far. He may have to rethink that tactic because Sinner can generate so much pop even from the deep position.
Sinner looking for his second break, and Draper lets the toss go. Draper off the far baseline here, 46 minutes in, 5-all first set, first semifinal. Oh, what a serve. That's clutch from Jack Draper. 128 down the center. What a time for his fastest serve of the match. His fourth ace to save the break point.
Yeah, and if you're Sinner, you've got to protect against the wide one. And so if Draper can hit that tee, there is nothing you can do. You just say too good.
Problem is, he's been trying to hit that tee. He's just been unable to do it. He landed it there. Now at deuce, he goes out wide. And now the full range of Jack Draper's abilities on display. Back-to-back aces That one out wide at 125.
And those are the two serves that Ben Shelton's so incredible at, hitting those precise, powerful aces to the right-hander's forehand.
Advantage Draper, he missed that wide. Sinner's beaten Shelton twice this year. 4-0 against lefties. Corentin Moutet, the only one who's taken a set. And now Draper double faults. That's 5 double faults in this opening set for Jack Draper.
Definitely a mixed bag of serving. Some incredibly clutch serves to get out of trouble, but then now an unnecessary double fault, and we're back at juice.
And such an important game, of course, 5-all, and the longer a game goes, the more importance it takes on.
Sinner, who looks to be more affected by the conditions than Draper on a somewhat humid day, blows on his hands, now returns that serve with a backhand. Deuce point here. Sinner steps in, crushes a forehand. Draper tries to pass, little volley, now forehand pass, just long from Jack Draper. It was his only play with Sinner looming, and Sinner's got a second break chance in this game.
Oh my gosh, and Sinner gave Draper a gift with a really poor volley, and Draper could not take advantage on the pass. It's just the pressure of that moment. I think 9 out of 10 times he makes that.
It was one of Jannik's first forays into the net, and it certainly showed because his backhand volley was very, very average, to say the least.
Draper saved the last break point with an ace. Does not have one here, but he almost got past, but Sinner's backhand return was just long. Missed by about 2 ball lengths. Yeah, let's say 1. So not an ace, but same result. And as this game approaches 7 minutes, we have seen Jack Draper save now a pair of break points. 5-all first set here in this men's singles semifinal. Draper goes down the center, a short backhand, slice backhand. Draper just cut it over the net. Cross-court backhand, Sinner. Draper deep forehand cross-court. Now Draper forehand middle. Sinner with a forehand from deep behind the baseline. Backhand cross for Draper. Now Draper goes with a two-hander deep. Sinner off the baseline. A forehand from Draper. Forehand from Sinner. Now an off forehand Draper. Big hitting from these two. One of the longer points, and it ends with a Draper miss into the net on the backhand. It's the 3rd break point of this game after that 16-shot exchange, the longest of the match.
And that would have been a frustrating point for Sinner to lose if he had, because Jack mishit 2 or 3 shots there that bounced right on the baseline. Jannik just had to stay patient. Eventually he got the unforced error, but it took a long, long time.
Yeah, it was interesting to see Draper going inside out with that forehand to the Sinner forehand.
And here's Draper missing wide of the center. He has saved 2 break points in this game. This is the 14th point of this game. Now second serve, he double faults. His 6th double fault of this opening set gives Jannik Sinner his 6th game of the opening set, and it will be Sinner serving for the opening set at 6-5 after that marathon game, a heartbreaking game for Jack Draper, as we check in courtside with Sophie Amiot.
Well, I'm now watching what Draper is going through also. He's having a lot of trouble. They're both having a lot of trouble with the humidity. By the way, 63 to 65% humidity today, but probably a little more here in this Arthur Ashe just because of the enclosure of the court. And his turn grip that he's using on his racket, I mean, it was drenched. I mean, you could tell. They are both suffering so much from the humidity right now. I mean, we're having a fabulous day. I think the crowd is getting more and more into it as the business end of this set. It's getting, so competitive. It's been so competitive, but even more when you know it's getting closer and closer to the end of a set. Will Sinner be able to hold finally after breaking for the 2nd time the serve of Draper, who's changing shirt right now, putting ice on his legs as well. He's got ice in the back of his neck. And I mean, both their shirts are soaked. I would think that this is at least a couple pounds on them. Of course, we have celebrities here, and Nick Kyrgios watching on the ESPN booth. I'm sure that he might be probably next on to commentate the Tiafoe against Fritz match between the 2 Americans. And we have also, obviously, Ann Winter, who's been here throughout the tournament, watching on from the president box. So, it is a great crowd, and people are having a great time. They can't really, there's not really a side. They're going and they're looking and they're watching for good tennis, which is great. And now Draper with a new shirt and a new racket with a new turner grip there. So I think that this is going to be much drier to handle.
It's been a challenging couple of minutes for Jack Draper, who's putting a fresh dampener on that racket. Brian Clark back here with David McPherson and Elise Bergen. Draper changes into a new shirt. He still has that same hat on that he has already sweat through as he turns it backwards. He's got a sleeve on his left arm, one of those tight compression sleeves. But it is Jannik Sinner after 51 minutes serving for the opening set in this semifinal, and he begins with an ace, his third of the match.
Very high percentage using the slice wide to the backhand. Even if it wasn't an ace, it would have set the point up really nicely for him. So that's going with your highest percentage plays on the biggest of occasions, which is very intelligent tennis.
At 15 love, Sinner bounces away, looks across the net. I think somebody was moving right in his line of sight behind Jack Draper. Sinner looks a little frustrated. And now he's ready to go. 15 love, toss, and that serve misses long. We're 6 minutes shy of the hour mark. Sinner broke first, but then in the ensuing game, he was broken right back. That was 4-all. But now he is working from the lead for the second time as he hits a booming forehand. Now he goes inside in with the forehand, pulling Draper right, a cross-court backhand from the British player. Lifted forehand Draper, a kick backhand, cross-court from Sinner. Sinner forehand middle, a short ball that Draper takes with a short ball of his own. Draper to his left with a forehand. We're seeing longer rallies in this match as Draper goes cross-court. Big hitting there. Now a forehand Draper, forehand Sinner. Draper with a cross-court backhand. Forehand, big one, inside-out Sinner. Pass attempt almost from Draper, but not quite, and Sinner's got a look of determination in his eye as he wheels behind him to talk to his box. 21 shots in that rally, and it goes Jannik Sinner's way.
Yeah, Sinner would be really happy with that point. He was able to actually use forehands with a little bit more spin there. You normally see him blasting through the forehand in a pretty flat fashion, but in that rally, he was able to get underneath the ball and hit a few more like Nadal-type forehands that whipped up high to the lefty's backhand.
Darren Cahill talks about his hand speed, especially on the forehand, how he can just create so much spin and so much speed at the same time.
2 points from the opening set is Jannik Sinner. Now the serve out to the Draper backhand. Deep forehand Sinner. He stays into that Draper backhand, not letting him unfurl that lefty forehand. Now he tests it. A short forehand from Draper. Backhand middle from Sinner. The backhand's long from Draper, who shows some visible signs of frustration. He's got his arms outstretched as if to say, what am I doing wrong? Well, he might have an answer here in the next couple of moments because Jannik Sinner has triple set point. 40 love, 55 minutes in, and a chance to do something that nobody's done in this U.S. Open, and that is take a set from Jack Draper.
Yeah, and I think this first set was more important for Draper than it is for Sinner, and Sinner, if he grabs it, I don't think there may be no looking back.
Definitely that feeling as Sinner serves out wide. Draper trying to take the return into a winner, but he missed it wide. And Jannik Sinner shows his class. The world #1 pulls away, consolidating the break. He is 2 sets away from his first ever U.S. Open final. Sinner takes the first 7-5, just under an hour. We'll be back on U.S. Open Radio, presented by American Express.
And welcome back to the US Open 2024 US Open Radio presented by American Express. Sophie Amiak courtside. Well, a first set for Sinner 7-5, and I tell you, I think that, you know, a lot of players mentioned there are only just a few points here and there that makes change in a match, in a set. And I have to say that that's 5-0. Biggest mistake for Draper in the first set. When he's up 40-30, he served wide. He had an opportunity to take that ball in the air and come in and finish the point. Decided to back off, lost the point, got broken, and that changed pretty much the whole dynamic of this set, with Sinner holding at love to take the first set 7-5.
Thank you, Sophie. And yeah, there's just that feeling, as we were talking about right before the break, that if there was going to be a moment for Jack Draper, that first set might have been it. It's going to be even tougher sledding Macca and Elise to overcome the way the end of that first set went down for the British player. But that's a solid start. And let's talk about that as he puts that first serve right down the center that Sinner can't get back. If he could just get more first serves in, that'll go a long way towards getting him into a better position, because that was something he did not have in that opening set.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Lisa. I was going to say Jannik hasn't seemed particularly comfortable on first serve return. So Brian is so right. If he's able to up his percentage, he could definitely get some easy holds.
This is a second serve point that Draper takes with a forehand, follows it in, hits a lovely backhand volley, Australian looking. But how about that pass from Jannik Sinner? Not sure he knew it was in, not sure Draper knew either. They had to look towards the chair for confirmation, and now the crowd has realized that Jannik Sinner just hit one of the shots of this tournament.
Reward yourself for doing the right things. Here we go, come on.
Brian, I take exception to that. I think an Australian would have hit that volley just much lower trajectory over the tape. That one just lofted just a fraction too much.
Oh, you Aussies and your volleys.
Sorry to offend.
Yeah.
I'm just joshing.
Second serve here for Jack Draper, 15-all opening game, and Draper now double faults. Are we at the point, as we see James Trotman saying legs, 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 you know, when you have 7 double faults through a set and now not even one game, at what point does it become almost unacceptable? You know, it's a certain number going to happen, but 7, that seems far too many through an hour as he misses another first serve.
And well, you've got to correct that. You know, serving into the net, you've got to correct that. And he's got to think short term right now, this game, period.
They trade from the center of the baseline, a forehand up the left side, across court forehand from Sinner, backhand from Draper, who now goes backhand cross. Sinner nets his forehand, it's 30-all.
Yes, and Jack Draper's got a lovely service motion, so this is really out of sorts for him to be having this many second serve misses. Once again, I just think that the humid conditions are just making both players uncomfortable. Sinner with his ground strokes, Draper with his serve.
22-year-old's toss, and the British #1 serves down the center, and that backhand return is wide. 16 years ago that a British player in his first ever major semifinal beat the world #1 here. That was Andy Murray, 2008. He beat Rafael Nadal in the semifinals here before he went on to lose to Roger Federer in the final. Murray, of course, won this tournament. Then 4 years later, that's the last time until today it's been a British man in the US Open semifinals. Big trade from the baseline, some big hitting strokes off the ground. Now it's Draper at stretch for a backhand. Sinner keeps hitting into that backhand, and then Draper undone by the net cord as he ripped the backhand, and once it hit the tape, that flew it wide. It's deuce.
Yeah, and he can't get into these types of exchanges, especially on his serve with Sinner. He has got to get those first serves in. He's got to attack on that second shot, because if he gets in these elongated rallies, it ain't happening for him.
We just had the stat that Sinner's now won 9 of the 14 points that have lasted 9 or more shots. And a lot of those have come lately. You know, Sinner, to Elise's point, is elongating these points, and that's not the game that Draper wants to get into. Backhand cross court from Draper. Here is another longer point. Draper goes backhand up the line. Now he opens up into a forehand. Sinner cross court with his forehand from the deuce side. The backhand from Draper. Draper backhand line. A backhand dug out by Sinner. And that backhand misses long from Jack Draper. And here is a break chance for Jannik Sinner to begin the second set.
Yeah, I think for Jack Draper, I'd like to see him take a little bit more risk, hit through his forehand a little bit more. His high topspin forehand isn't really bothering Jannik Sinner. Jannik's tall, he has a strong two-hander. I really feel like when they get in the baseline rallies, Jack has got to do what he did earlier in the match, pull the trigger on the forehand and avoid these protracted rallies.
Down a break point. Draper in danger of being broken for the third time in this match. Great return, a deep one from Sinner. Now he moves Draper right with a cross-court backhand. Sinner forehand middle. Backhand slice from Draper. Forehand cross-court ad side from Sinner. Angled backhand and a backhand around the net post wide from Sinner. That was a great shot from Draper just to open up the court a little bit more and save the break point.
Yeah, and use that leftiness, getting that little short angle. Hit a slice earlier in the point and then just from off the court hits that little angle. So good.
That's been his best spot on the court. We've seen almost an around the post down the line winner, and that time it was the sharp cross court all the way to the other side of the court off the forehand.
That serve smashes into net from Draper as his serve struggles continue. Barely getting in half of the first serves for the match. And he's won just 42% of the second serves in this match. He's also got 7 double faults. There's a backhand drop shot from Draper. Sinner got there. Draper tries to steer it around Sinner, and he does. A deft touch from the 22-year-old. Advantage Draper.
I think he thought he had won that point before and had to do a little more work after that drop shot. Well disguised, but nice wheels from Sinner to just keep that point in play.
A lot of feedback from his coach, James Trotman. A lot of input, just a lot of, he's not giving him overwhelming technical information, but just a lot of encouragement before every point. Short backhand, little squash shot from Draper. Now he opens up into a forehand middle from Sinner. They reset the point with a sliding backhand Sinner. There goes Draper, and he badly missed that forehand, trying to hit the outright winner. It's deuce.
And I think Trotman's trying to encourage him so much because he knows how important this game is. He's got to hold to start this second set.
Relax, here we go.
And Jack had thrown a few looks of frustration at his box, and so the coach is trying to, stop him from unraveling here, getting him to reset every point and just stay in the present.
Long exhale there from Draper. Now at deuce, opening game, second set. This game approaching 7 minutes. We have seen Draper save a break point in this game. After Jannik Sinner won the first set 7-5, breaking Draper twice along the way. Serve and volley, Draper. There's the backhand volley into a Sinner lob, and he got it high enough that 6'4" Jack Draper could only frame it away, and it's a second break point for Sinner.
Yeah, nice shot selection from Jannik Sinner there. Jack Draper hit a first volley and then committed his body weight forward towards the net strap. So even though the lob wasn't that high, because of Jack's body weight going the wrong way, it was hard for him to elevate and put away the smash.
And now Draper's serve. He missed it out wide.
On the ad side, Jannik Sinner not giving up as much ground, just behind the baseline to receive second serve.
And this second serve, Draper down the center into the body of Sinner. Draper's backhand hits the tape, but it goes, and then it's Sinner. Maybe the ball off the net cord disrupted his timing, but again, he's back to his hands, trying to dry them off as Draper saves another break point for deuce.
Yeah, and that was a very aggressive backhand that Draper hit. It caught the tape and slowed it down, but as you were saying, David, that he's got to be aggressive. He's just got to go after his shots.
Fourth deuce point of this game, 13th point of this game, and another first serve coming. Toss, and that serve, he missed it long. Draper back to the line, just trying to get more of these serves in, more free points off the serve. He's not been able to harness it here in this semifinal. Forehand from Sinner's long, advantage Draper.
Just so uncharacteristic to see Jannik Sinner miss so many routine ground strokes.
This one, mate. Come on, you got it.
And primarily it's been the forehand. A few misses off the backhand, but the forehand, he's misfired many times for him in this early going.
Sweat dripping off Jack Draper as that serve misses long. It was 128 miles an hour. Now the second serve, he puts it at the shoe tops of Sinner. That was a very good second serve and a very important hold of serve for Jack Draper as he finds a way through, saving 2 break points along the way. And they will change ends with Draper on serve. Let's check in courtside. Sophie Amiak. That was a grueling start to this second set.
Yeah, to say the least. And I'm telling you that Draper, you can, I mean, looking at him now, you know, trying to getting some water, and he looks very, very tired after this game. He looks spent a lot more than Jannik Sinner right now. That was excruciating to win this game and saving those 2 break points. And again, you know, I'm looking at both of them sweating, and there's the humidity factor. And, you know, you see Draper with both arms and wrists with wristbands. I'm asking a question, you know, again, can Nike bring this man, Jannik Sinner, another wristband for his left hand? Please help him out.
Well, I would assume so, but he doesn't want one because I'm sure he's got the whole stash in the bag. And
I'm just amazed.
Sophie, you've got Ivan Lendl on speed dial. Get onto him right away and get some sawdust out here.
Your pickleball
ASAP.
friend.
I feel
Get your
so bad
pickleball
for
friend
him
getting
right
the sawdust out.
so here is Jannik Sinner. He's just got that one wristband on. It's on his right wrist, and he misses that first serve into net. Sinner took the opening set 7-5 in 56 minutes. And now he serves into the backhand of Draper. Draper crushed that return, then goes inside in with a forehand. Most confident looking moment. Kind of woke up this crowd as well. Just 1 point though. It's love 15.
Yeah, but it just shows you how important holding that serve was for Jack Draper. It just gave him a little giddy up in his step. Like, got through that game, and here he's such an explosive player. You know, he could steal a break.
He broke Sinner once in that opening set. That was right after he had been broken. But then it was the late break from Sinner that put him in the driver's seat to win that set. Second serve here for Jannik Sinner. We've talked about the first serve struggles for Jack Draper in this match. Sinner's been much better in that department. He's also been better at winning the second serve points. He's got half of them, though. He'd like more. He's now fallen below half because that second serve point goes to Jack Draper thanks to a deep return that Sinner couldn't handle. Sinner's in a love 30 hole.
Yeah, and Draper stayed back. He stayed well behind that baseline looking for the forehand, and he got it and just ripped it.
Yeah, it's definitely a tactic on the ad side of the court where he feels like he can play deep and slide a couple of steps to his right and create a forehand, whereas on the deuce, it would take him too far outside the court to try that.
Love 30, that serve misses wide. Sinner was going tee. And now Draper's got his tongue out. He looks like Michael Jordan licking his lips as the serve goes out wide. Backhand angle from Draper. Cross-court forehand deep from Sinner. Sinner now with the backhand middle. Draper forehand middle. Forehand from Sinner. Backhand from Draper. They trade from the center of the baseline. Then the backhand. Draper hits the net, and then it flies wide. He tried to pull the trigger, though. He went bigger on that backhand. 15-30.
As he did to get the love 30, there were 2 of the most penetrating forehands he's hit in the entire match, and it put him in a position to potentially get a break. He was trying to do the same thing there, unleashing a cross-court backhand, but just caught the tape.
Yeah, Draper, you look at the unforced errors. He's got 23 in the match, 10 now off that backhand wing. Of course, you count the 7 double faults among those 23 unforced. That's ace number 3 for Sinner, flattening out wide at 125. His fastest of the match.
Yeah, and that's how you get yourself out of trouble with just one swat of the racket and quickly love 30 to 30 all.
Yeah, Jannik's really getting that ball wide on the ad there. That was John Isner's most damaging serve. He saved many a break point with that one, just rearing back and hitting the ball short wide to the right-hander's backhand, and in this case, the left-handed forehand.
Sinner was thrown off by the timing. He arrived at the line with only about 4 seconds left on the clock. I think he thought something was wrong with the serve clock, and maybe it did not reset. And whatever the disturbance was, Mariana Velvovic allowed him to just continue. She did not call him for a time violation. And then he aces with 126 down the center for 40-30.
Two thunderous serves right there. Perhaps his two biggest and most accurate for the entire match.
Certainly his two biggest. Then he goes body serve that Draper handles with a forehand. Sinner tried to flatten it out with a backhand. That one, 127. So Sinner here has hit his three biggest serves over the last 3 points. He did not win that point, though. It's deuce.
Yeah, and went with the scissor kick on that backhand, which he's very good at, but it wasn't a necessity there. Use your bread and butter.
And any time Jannik would miss wide, that would be just so annoying to him. He knows that he's the more consistent of the two baseliners, so to miss a ball wide is just unforgivable in his eyes.
Peers across the court. Now the toss, the serve, he misses deep. As we get a look at the center box on our monitors, his partner, Anna Kalinskaya, is courtside today and won't be happy with that double fault. He won't be happy with that double fault. Here's a break point for Draper.
Advantage, Draper.
Both players, I would say, have been inconsistent at times. It was Draper who was inconsistent at the more pivotal moments in the opening set that allowed Sinner to take that set 7-5. But after Draper had to save 2 break points in the first game of this second set, he's got a chance to break Sinner. Down a break point is the world number 1, and he missed that serve out wide.
Please.
We'll see if Jack plays deep again and looks for a forehand. That's been his go-to play.
Soft second serve. He just rolled that into the box. A backhand from Sinner now. Draper went with the forehand inside out. 76-mile-an-hour second serve, but it was that forehand miss that it stings for Draper.
Yeah.
The break point comes and goes.
Sometimes you just get so amped up. Here's my chance, and had that forehand and just overhit it.
Excellent return. It set up an opportunity, but the backswing was too long because, as you say, Elise, he was overamped. Long backswing nearly always ends up with a bad result.
And here's Sinner at deuce, the toss, and that serve flies into the net. So each player's now saved 1 break opportunity so far, but Sinner's not out of the woods yet here. A second serve at deuce, kicks up into the backhand of Draper. Forehand middle from Sinner, who's up a set in this men's singles semifinal. Lifted forehand Draper, running forehand from Sinner. Cross-court forehand Draper hitting behind Sinner, but Sinner recovered. Now Sinner goes cross-court with the backhand. Forehand Draper, backhand cross on the ad side. Forehand cross now from Draper. Draper's got the whole court, goes line, stretching Sinner out. Draper waits, plays a drop shot. Here comes Sinner, crushes a forehand onto the baseline. Block lob, well long from Draper. Sinner, incredible defending.
Just amazing flexibility. One of the best points Jack Draper's played in the match. A sizzling forehand down the line. Absolutely torched that. It's incredible that Jannik was able to defend that, cover the drop shot, and eventually win the point. Extraordinary movement.
Yes, and how he plays from the extremes of the court. Just so good. His balance is amazing. And for Draper, in the end, he tried to go for that little dropper and just didn't execute.
Here's Sinner, a chance for 1-all after he saved that break point. Already 20 minutes into this second set. Had a long second set so far. Serves out to the forehand, a deep return from Draper, who goes backhand middle, backing up. Sinner wants to stay on the forehand wing. Backhand cross, that missed from Jack Draper, and Jannik Sinner holds. So each man has to save at least 1 break point. Draper had to save 2 of them, but he did, and we're even at a game all here in the second set.
I tell you, if this set goes to a tiebreaker, they might set a record for the longest set at the US Open, because those first 2 games really went the distance.
No rest, though, for Jack Draper after that marathon game and the missed opportunity in the game. He's back to the line, trying to hold serve here. He was broken twice in that opening set. And then he just had to save 2 break points. So nothing's been easy over the last half hour for Jack Draper. He's got a second serve here. It's down the center very deep with Sinner with a backhand return. Powerful forehand. Draper is now in and net with a backhand volley. Here comes Sinner with a backhand lob. Overhead, Draper missed it wide of everything.
And there's that elite defensive movement from Jannik Sinner, stealing yet another point. I thought it was a fine backhand volley. Everyone thought he'd done enough with the volley to win the point, but no, Jannik Sinner just exploded forward and managed to create a difficult little punch lob off the backhand side.
Taylor Fritz and Francis Tiafoe will play tonight. They'll get the winner of this match in the final on Sunday. We are guaranteed 2 first-time U.S. Open finalists. If Jack Draper can mount a comeback, we'll have 2 first-time major finalists. Forehand return from Sinner, a short one, deep forehand from Draper, and then it's Sinner who mishits that forehand wide. Another big miss on the forehand from Sinner. It's 15-all.
It's definitely a source of frustration to him. Like, he's not used to missing this many forehands.
At 15-all. Tossing that serve off the tape and then well long. Second serve on the way. He goes out into the center. Forehand Sinner with deep, and now he moves closer to the baseline to go inside in. Beautiful forehand Sinner. Backhand from Draper. Sinner takes it into an overhead winner cross court from the ad service line. It's 15-30.
Yeah, and Sinner is putting pressure on Draper almost every one of his service games now, and that becomes a big ask when you're just fighting to stay in these games. It weighs on you physically and it weighs on you mentally.
Yeah, that's not what a big server wants, is it? They want those quick, decisive points.
That serve missed wide. Draper looks low. He's had to work really hard over the last few minutes, and things have not gone his way, but a nice inside-in forehand will help. Now he corrals that Sinner forehand with a perfect volley. Great touch from Draper. He dropped it off into the service box. It's 30-all.
And those opportunities to get in are so few and far between, and got the short reply and does a really nice job here. Beautiful touch. Nice lefty touch.
It was a good combination. The second serve was of such quality. It created a slightly short return, and then he took full advantage with his forehand, which he needed to do. Use that serve to set up the forehand.
Serve down the center from Draper. He gets the first serve in, something he struggled to do, but he has also struggled to win those first serve points. He's done it well that U.S. Open, but there he just missed the forehand wildly long, and here's a break chance for Sinner.
Yeah, and that's the second time he's missed a fairly easy forehand sitter.
It's now the 3rd consecutive game where Draper has faced a break point. He was broken at the end of the opening set. Saved 2 in the first service game of this second set, but now has a second serve 81 minutes into this men's singles semifinal. Jannik Sinner up a set. Can he go up a break? Second serve. He plays serve and volley. There's the backhand volley. Daring touch, and it paid off for Draper.
Yeah, I think that was maybe a tactical mistake from Jannik Sinner to play super deep on the ad side. All Jack had to do was swing it out wide. Jannik was so deep he couldn't quite get a backhand powerful enough to get it past him, and Jack had the whole court to just dice a little cross-court volley in for the winner.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll see Jannik play too deep on second serves on the ad side going forward.
That toss goes out wide. Now a forehand return from Sinner, who's recovered into the center of the baseline. Forehand, off forehand from Draper. Forehand Sinner, inside in forehand. Draper turned it up. That's the play Draper's tried so many times, and more often than not, he's missed it. But that's the tactic he wants, and it worked right there.
And great racket head speed as he gets around that forehand and gave himself plenty of margin. You know, he's got enough racket head speed that he doesn't have to go for the paint the lines.
Great wide serve. What a return from Sinner. We have seen Sinner in that ad court to the lefty serve hit some dazzling returns at full stretch. That was another one, an outright winner.
And those are the hands that Darren Cahill talks about, the quick hands, the ability to just flick the wrist. Fast hands, fast wrists.
Crowd's gotten very quiet here in Arthur Ashe Stadium. Back at deuce, Draper not through this game yet. And he missed that first serve. Now Sinner's playing very deep here in the deuce court on this deuce point. Draper goes out wide. Sinner with a forehand middle off the service line. Draper takes it with a forehand, stretching Sinner out to his right. Inside in forehand Draper. Backhand pass attempt a little bit wide from Sinner. Advantage Draper.
Even though it's been a struggle this game, I really feel like Jack's hit some of his best forehands. They've been very decisive. I think his footwork has been sharp in this game on his forehand, apart from the one unnecessary miss. And with good footwork comes good penetration. He's been able to make an impact in the point and put Jannik Sinner in bad positions.
Advantage Draper. Serve down the center. Now a forehand return from Sinner, who steps in with a deep forehand, pushing Draper back. And Draper's forehand's long. So we talk, about the great returners. Think of Novak Djokovic. We're talking about Andre Agassi. As we've seen Sinner hit some of these incredible returns, what makes somebody such a good returner with some of these shots that Sinner's hitting?
Oh, it's a combination of things, incredible balance and posture, even when you're on the stretch, having a nice light grip pressure on the racket so you're not, choking the racket, allowing it to release through the contact point.
Almost connected on another return to that wide Draper serve, but he put it into the net. Advantage Draper.
And the great returners can adjust. They can shorten their swing depending on who you're playing, who that server is, can make great adjustments, and it's just a visual thing. And we always said about Agassi, he just saw the ball better than anyone else.
Another wide serve, half volley pickup from Draper. Oh, he had to make that perfect, and Sinner still almost got there. Crowd rises to its feet, especially the Draper box, as their man is hanging tough right now as he tries to hang on here in this semifinal. It's Sinner up a set on US Open Radio, presented by American Express.
Get ready for the next unbelievable moments. This is US Open Radio, presented by American Express.
The Billie Jean King National Tennis Center. This is the place to be. US Open 2024 and US Open Radio, presented by American Express. Sophie Amiak courtside here, and I'm looking up to the upper deck where all the Carrot Boys are sitting, and they are, of course, the fans, the fan club of Jannik Sinner. They are very excited about winning the first set. Sinner here, and just a story about where this coming from. It actually happened when the Carrot Boys, who were at the time very fan of Jannik Sinner, watching him play in Vienna, and at the time not wearing the carrot outfit. And he was actually eating on the changeover a carrot. So they decided to wear a carrot outfit and follow him wherever he goes. And they do this, through their work, because they're all working people and trying to get to places. I think there is a coffee company that sponsored him and sponsors also Jannik Sinner to get them to the places sometimes, and helps with the financial aspect. But they're really high right now. I would think that maybe Jannik Sinner could maybe find some better tickets for him.
Seats aren't cheap, Sophie.
I know, but it's Jannik Sinner.
Jannik Sinner, who wants to be a U.S. Open finalist for the first time. He is up a set on Jack Draper, takes a swinging volley out of the air. He's parked it net. And again, the offensive tennis from Jannik Sinner on full display here. I'm Brian Clark with Elise Bergen and David McPherson, and you just heard from Sophie Amiak courtside. And it's something we've talked about time and time again, the attacking tennis from Jannik Sinner. He's come in 11 times, played net points. He's won 10 of them in this match. Draper's not had an answer for that wrinkle of the Sinner game. Sinner's also been pretty good with the serve, and that one down the center. It's blocked with that lefty backhand. Now a forehand, as Sinner had all day to wait for that ball to come down and take it inside out for a winner. It's 30-love.
Yeah, and what Sinner wants is a quick service game. He gets a quick game, then poor Jack Draper's got to go right back to serving, whereas Dave and I were talking in commercial break where he has just been under assault on his serves, and you see all the shirts and all the changes. It is humid.
Draper did well just to hold on to his serve in his 2 service games in this set, because he's had to save now a total of 3 break points in this set. Serve goes into his backhand, into a forehand middle from Draper. Now forehand and off forehand from Sinner. Sinner easily puts that away for 40 love. What's interesting, something we talked about, Macca, we heard James Trotman, Draper's coach, talking nonstop a few games ago. He's a little more quiet now, and it's like he sensed that Draper just needed just some guidance, some support through a choppy patch of the match.
And when you lose a close first set like that, that's when the nerves the emotions can get out of control. So good coaching by James to try and get him to channel positivity back at a pivotal time.
Ace for Sinner out wide. All positive for Sinner as he aces. That's the first very straightforward service game of this second set. It's the first service game of the second set that lasted fewer than 10 points. We had some marathon games, and it is Sinner holding for 2-all. So he's going to send some rackets back to the stringer as well.
Yeah, that's not uncommon. Normally, Mike Bryan used to send rackets back in the middle of matches, especially in the big matches. He would sometimes just not be happy with his tension.
But right there, he did just confirm with Mariana Veljovic that he wants them the same. So he doesn't want to make any adjustments. He just needs some fresh rackets coming back. Here's Draper up the center, a perfect serve up the tee. And Elise, you know, we've seen Draper use that tee serve. We've not seen him get it out wide as much, but when that tee serve is effective, knowing that you could do anything as a lefty, that is a huge advantage here 90 minutes in.
Well, when the wide serve for a lefty, when the wide serve's working and the ad court, the tee and the deuce, and that means that ball is moving. And even in the deuce court where it's pulling you into the middle, it's still effective.
Here's second serve point, 15 love for Draper, 5th game, second set. Sinner's up a set in this semifinal, and Sinner able to maintain a level of depth that Draper couldn't handle, and it's 15-all.
Yeah, and Draper's got to get first serves in. He's got to start getting a lot more first serves in. This set at 43% so far, and he's played some elongated games. It's just Sinner chomping at the bit.
Good flat wide serve on first serve for Draper. It's a forehand back into the same spot. Deuce court from the outside. Now he goes line with the forehand up the right sideline. He's at the service line for the overhead that he puts away with ease. Sinner's been so good on defense. We haven't seen Draper play many of those points where he's been in full control from serve to point conclusion. But as James Trotman said, so good.
Yes, that's the type of point he wants to be playing. Great serve and dictating with the forehand, finishing at the net. That's the blueprint for success going forward for Jack Draper.
30-15 here for Jack Draper. He's got that black hat turned backwards, the purple kit with that black compression sleeve on the left arm. Purple shorts and the purple shirt that gets a little bit darker as you work your way up towards the collar. Second serve for the 22-year-old into the body of Jannik Sinner. Now a forehand up the wide open left sideline for Draper. Sinner had it covered. They trade and Sinner misses long. 40-15 for Draper, who would love an easy service game.
Yeah, and if he can start taking control of some points with the forehand, hitting that inside-out forehand.
Relaxed. Come on. You're looking good, mate. This is the best he's got. Come on.
It's nice to hear your coach saying, he can't get any better than this. Just relax.
I don't know if I would agree with
no,
that.
I was going to say.
But that's what you want to hear from your coach. He's not any better than this.
40-15, serve up the center, a lunging backhand return from Sinner. Now Draper steps in for a forehand, pushing Sinner to his backhand, hit the tape. Draper had to readjust. Sinner lines up another forehand, cross court, forehand line, and it was Draper who missed it, 40-30.
Just these last 10 minutes, I feel like Sinner's found his forehand a little bit. That's 4 or 5 really good ones in a row. A couple of winners, that one just getting a forced error out of the Draper forehand. But if Jannik Sinner finds the range on his forehand, if that gets locked in, then that's a whole new ball game in this match. Change the complexity of this match.
At 40-30, Draper's got something bothering him as he walks towards the chair. I think maybe one of the balls he's not happy with. Hands the ball back to the chair umpire, unsure if it was maybe losing some pressure or just something he didn't like about it, but he gets new balls from the ball crew. And 93 minutes into this match, it's Jack Draper here at 40-30.
For service.
Another first serve coming from the 22-year-old. He'll be 23 in December, just a few months younger than Jannik Sinner. As he misses that serve out wide. Trying that wide serve in the ad court as a lefty. Now a second serve coming from Draper. And he double faults. 8 for the match. That's his second. And you hear James Trotman saying, change the racket. And you can see that Torna grip. And this is something Sophie was highlighting really for both players. That Torna grip on his racket completely soaked through. And maybe he's having a hard time gripping the racket right now.
Brian, that's totally it. If your racket grip slips in your hand just slightly when you're trying to spin that second serve, it ruins it.
There he tried to go flat and out wide and missed it wide. We're at deuce right now.
Didn't Gasquet change the grip every change of sides?
And now Draper's serve falling apart. He double faults and he is going to change the racket. Perhaps a point too late.
And as the coach, I'd be thinking, why didn't you listen to me the first time?
Exactly.
You wouldn't be down break point.
The coach is saying, that's 1 point too late because now you're facing a break point.
Look at that fresh grip in his hand right now. That's probably feeling amazing to him. It wouldn't shock me if I see a perfect ace come off his racket here.
That's what Draper wants right now. He's down a break point. And that serve, well, no, he left it long.
Jinxed him.
Draper saved break points in his first 2 service games here in the second set. Needs to make it 3 for 3. Second serve, it's out into the Sinner backhand. Sinner tried to hit an outright winner, but missed it wide. Draper's now saved a break point in each of the 3 games, but he's not through the game yet. But as James Trotman said, that was a great second serve. Also another very long game on serve for Draper as we approach 6 minutes in this game alone. Serve down the center, a forehand middle from Draper here in the U.S. Open semifinal. It's Jannik Sinner, the world #1 up a set, who plays a forehand. Draper to his right, and he watched Sinner miss it long. Advantage Draper.
Advantage Draper.
These games without breaking really testing Sinner's composure. He could have broken every single time this set so far.
That's so true. I'm thinking, well, it's just got to be weighing on Draper. He's fighting so hard each and every service game. But on the other hand, you're absolutely right. For Sinner, come on, you gotta break through here.
Sinner gets another look at a second serve here, and it goes into his backhand. And Sinner tried to hit a return winner. He could not, though. He missed it wide. Draper again fights off a break point with help from a dry racket. And he holds serve, but it is Sinner up a set at 2-3. As Draper will again opt for a new shirt. He's got quite the setup courtside. Sophie Amiak is also courtside. And Sophie, is it getting any warmer, or these are just the conditions the players have been dealing with all match?
It's pretty much the conditions, and you know, he's changing shirt, but you got to remember he's also playing with a sleeve on his arm, so that makes him sweat even more than, you know, a player who wouldn't have that. And on the other hand, you know, I see both of them sweating as much, but he does have also those 2 wristbands that he's probably going to change as far as changing the shirt as well. I think he's hitting his forehand bigger. He's really trying to go for more right now because he knows that going down 2-0 wouldn't be really ideal against the #1 player in the world. And for Sinner, missing on those breakpoint opportunity, I think it's playing something in his mind. But on the other hand, he knows that sooner or later, the way that he's playing, it's going to happen. That's how you have to really think about it and keep that mentality, really.
Sophie, how many shirt changes would you estimate for both players so far in the match?
Well, I'll see already 2 for Draper, and I can't really see the amount, but I think I remember correctly. I think it was only 1 for Sinner. But Yeah, he's close to probably
I was
needing
thinking
a new one. Yeah.
I was thinking that he should be changing his shirt a little bit more regularly.
I agree.
I'm sure he's got a good enough sponsorship that he's got 15 or 18 in the bag.
Obviously, Sinner is missing a lot of wristband in that sponsorship package.
It's tough to get a good deal these
Poor
days.
guy.
Sophie's angling for a job as Sinner's. She wants to renegotiate that deal and have him put on an extra wristband. But speaking of the moisture and the condensation, Sinner's noticing some droplets on the court. Sophie, that's not rain. That's just he's at the end now
sweat.
where Draper was. Yeah,
that's sweat. Yeah, but he was looking at the sky because it's getting a little darker. We're having like some cloud, coverage here, so it is getting a little darker. It's a little bit different here, the conditions.
He had a member of the ball crew just put the towel on the ground and just sort of kick the towel around to dry up those drops of moisture. These two have been on court now for 1 hour and 36 minutes, and it's been a long one. It's been a pretty grueling fight. Sinner in that first set took it 7-5 in 56 minutes, and with Jack Draper averaging about 5 minutes per service game here in the second, it's Sinner at 2-3, 40 minutes into the second set, trying to keep it on serve, and he misses that first serve. Sinner had to save 1 break point in his first service game, but his last game was by far the cleanest of this set for either player. He held it love, and that second service chipped back long by Draper. 15 all. Draper goes right to his towel, and it was actually for some moisture on the ground, not anything on his body at the moment. At 15 love, here's Sinner with that hat slightly askew off to the right, not like Donald Young, who we saw yesterday in the mixed doubles final with Taylor Townsend and Donald Young's farewell to the U.S. Open, but just a little bit off, like somebody who's playing tennis on a pretty humid day in a U.S. Open semifinal. Draper's return is long. It's 30 love.
A couple of loose returns from Jack Draper there. 2 second serves to the forehand. One he chipped long. That time he tried to hit it with a more traditional grip. 2 unnecessary mistakes.
At 30 love, right down the center and a little bit wide. Just looking at the amount of sweat, the conditions in this match, and the clock, it just shows how grueling this is in a best-of-5 set match. We're approaching 2 hours, and we're only midway through the second set with Jannik Sinner up a set and having a chance for a second consecutive love hold as Draper misses long. It's 40 love.
Yeah, at that point, Sinner used the old scissor kick on the backhand and was effective and rushed Draper on his forehand.
And I'm thinking to myself, Francis Tiafoe needs to bring about 35 shirts to the court for his match tonight.
He'll play Taylor Fritz. You would think it'll be a little bit cooler, but that humidity doesn't always go away at night. And now Draper just drops the racket. He runs over to the chair, and he needs something out of his bag. I'm not sure what. Oh, he has to tie his shoe. Did he break his shoelace? Because at 3 all, it's not a changeover, but he's got that left shoe off. We're getting a look at that racket, which he grabbed in the middle of his last service game, or towards the end of it, when James Trotman, his coach.
Ladies and gentlemen, the shoes are wet, making court unplayable. So the shoes will be changed before we continue playing.
So a shoe change for Jack Draper. And it's humid when you're sweating through the shoes. It's not the sweat that's pouring off his head, and that's what was causing those little puddles.
And very uncomfortable for the player wearing those wet shoes too. You don't feel like you can move to your full potential when you're squelching around in your own shoes.
You're sloshing around in them. So difficult.
So as we have a contest to use all sorts of gross words to describe the conditions on court, Sophie Amiak is courtside. Sophie, I'm surprised that Draper did not opt for another racket change, because we can already see that tourna grip completely soaked through.
Well, you have so many rackets in your bag. I'm not sure. I mean, he has one that is outside that he dropped earlier, the one that was so drenched. But, now they're sweating on the court, and it's like the basketball court. Like, now we're going to have the ball crew coming in, almost every other point to try to get the sweat out.
Right, as Draper comes in. Now the ball fell out of his pocket. And they will replay the point.
Wow.
Now you
a lot of events going on here.
Yes, when a ball drops out of your pocket, that's your warning. So we'll replay the point this time, but if that happened again, Jack Draper will lose the point. So pocket design is very important in tennis, professional tennis.
Needed to be deep enough. Now Draper at 3-all, serves down the center. And Sophie was talking about basketball, and yeah, you see them anytime the play is at the other end of the floor, the guys out there with the mops, but that's usually because players are falling. They're not sweating through their shoes in a basketball game, but that's what we've got here in these steamy conditions in this semifinal. It's been a lot of pressure for Jack Draper, but he's handled it here in the second set as they trade big hitting ground strokes from the baseline. A forehand now from Draper, but he missed it long as Sinner wants to pounce. And as you were saying a few moments ago, Elise Bergen, or more than a few moments ago at this point, but yeah, we're talking about Draper having to work so hard on serve, but Sinner's got to be thinking, I need to take one of these break chances. He's had them in each of Draper's 3 service games.
Yeah, and that does start to weigh on you, and you've got to remember that Draper's the one that's always up the service game because he served first in this set. So for Sinner, he's thinking, I've got to get this, I've got to get one of these breaks so that I can just solidify my stranglehold on this match. And when he does get that break, it's all bets are off. You think he may really loosen up.
Well, he's certainly loosened up on serve. He's won 10 straight points on serve, but right now he's about the return points here at love 15. Long exchange from both. Now a forehand into net from Sinner. We have seen Sinner come out on top in those 9+ point rallies more often than Draper has, but that was one that went Draper's way. Exactly 9 shots in that exchange.
And that was more of a forced error, wasn't it, Elise? Jack really stepped in and got some great body weight on that cross-court backhand, so it had some extra velocity as it hurtled into the center forehand.
1 minute past 5 o'clock here on this overcast Friday in New York. The roof is open in a humid Arthur Ashe Stadium. Flat serve out wide. Now a backhand slice from Draper. Here comes Sinner. Well, he got there, but he just kind of whiffed on the ball. He didn't quite fully extend the arm. 30-15 for Draper.
So Draper willing to take a little bit of a risk there and stepped in, took the pace off, and sweet hands with that drop shot. But it's interesting that for Jannik Sinner, winners to unforced errors, they are even at 20 apiece for this match, and that's not a good stat for Sinner, who's used to hitting many more winners and used to being very consistent.
I think it speaks to this match, though. It certainly tells the story of this match, how both guys have just had their moments where they're not quite as crisp as what we've seen over the course of this tournament so far. Draper tried to go cross-court with that slice volley from the baseline, but he left it short into net. It's 30-all.
Yeah, and the last, well, he did it a couple points in a row. The last 10 seconds ago when he hit it, he was inside the court, and that made sense. But there he was behind the baseline.
Yes, I don't think he wants to fall in love with that drop shot. Just use it judiciously when you're well inside the court and when Sinner is very deep.
Sinner twirls that racket once as Draper serves it out wide. Biggest difference in this match from what Draper's gotten over the first 5 rounds of this tournament. He has gotten far fewer free points. He's gotten minimal free points on his serve. Sinner hits a big forehand return, now comes in with a backhand pass that just missed. Covered a lot of ground there.
I'm in utter shock that Sinner missed just a gimme backhand, set things up, dumped the return low. Draper just on a wing and a prayer hitting the volley, and oh my goodness, shocking from Sinner. So uncharacteristic.
An easy backhand put away by, he'd probably make 99 out of 100, I'd say.
Draper missed that serve wide of the center line, and he's got a second serve here as he looks for what would be his cleanest service game of this second set, because he has not faced a break point. He has saved them in each of the first 3, trying to get through the 4th without having to save one as they trade from the baseline. Draper having to cover a lot of ground. Here comes Sinner, and it's Sinner who missed. What were we saying about these two just not being as crisp as what we've seen? Draper holds, and now it's Sinner after the changeover, who will serve at 3-4 on US Open Radio, presented by American Express.
live from the USTA Billie Jean King National Tennis Center in New York. This is US Open Radio, presented by American Express.
I can tell you what the crowd was saying. So it's ole, 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 bia, bia.
Ole, you heard them. Yeah, that was earlier also in this match, and we like when the crowd gets into it, and that was quite a fun moment. Not a fun moment on the last 2 points for Jannik Sinner on those two backhand missed, the one cross courts on short ball and the one down the line. And I can tell you on the first one, he was so upset he started to pull his shorts up, like like I am so mad. And then on the second one, you thought that anybody else would have probably broke the racket, but no. He just went on his way and calmly sat down.
Thanks, Sophie. That's Sophie Amiak courtside, and now it's Jannik Sinner after missing that pair of shots that Sophie was talking about, serving from the far baseline and then missing the forehand lob. So it's been Draper who's been under pressure. That had been 10 straight points Sinner had won on serve. But right there, it's now a miss from Sinner, and it's Draper inching in front. We've not said that in a while because Draper's been under pressure on serve and unable to create any joy against the Sinner service. Draper's bothered by something right now and had to just get the towel. I guess some more sweat had appeared on the court. It had poured off of his face.
I think it's been grueling for Sinner mentally more than anything, whereas Draper physically, he's having to really been tested his endurance physically.
And it is Sinner off the far baseline, flatten out wide for an ace. 15 all. 7th ace for Sinner. 5 of them have come in this second set.
And most of them out wide to the ad. It's just been a beautiful, beautiful spot for him.
Good news for Draper. They're now in the deuce court. We've seen Sinner hit a few of those, though, as well. As he goes with the toss down the center, and Draper can't get the forehand back. A solid serve at 120 down the tee, 121 rather. It's 30-15.
Yeah, reasonably decent service percentage for Jannik Sinner. I believe that's 78%. Can that be right? He has served well.
For winning those first serve points. Yeah, he's won 25 of the 32 they've played. He's trying to win this one here. Oh, nice little pass attempt from Draper, and Sinner couldn't handle it. Draper from a defensive position with the backhand, and Sinner at net could not take advantage.
Sinner gets that serve in, and he should have just served and volleyed. He kind of did the couple steps in and hit the swing volley, but could have been so much closer to the net. Got himself in trouble.
And Sinner's got to be careful here. 30 all. And if Draper can steal a couple of points here, he'll be serving for the second set. Sinner from the far baseline, the 23-year-old, the world number 1. The toss and the serve. It's out into the backhand return, a little bit wide from Draper.
Yeah, Jannik Sinner went with a high percentage spot there. He saw that the left-hander was playing especially deep, so predictably he hit the cutter wide, pulled Jack Draper well off the court. Even if Jack had have made that return, he would have been in real trouble recovering for the next shot.
Yeah, it's not necessarily how big you hit it. That was only 114.
Serve into the forehand of Draper, who now steps in for a backhand middle. Running forehand from Sinner. Draper drills another forehand. Sinner slides into it. Another big off forehand from Draper. Draper steps into the inside in forehand. There goes Sinner. Draper's in. What a low volley. It just cleared the net. And now he puts his hand to his ear. He wants to hear it from this crowd in Ash.
How about those British volleys? My goodness, I should give the Brits some credit. That was a feathery touch, a little backhand drop volley down the line from well below the height of the net. That was quite exquisite.
And just big spin on the forehand deep and recognized it.
And a little bit more dominant on the forehand of late.
And he says he's shy. That didn't look too shy to me when he put his hand to his ear. Like, come on, let me hear it.
At deuce, Sinner waits for the crowd to be quiet. No facial expressions from Sinner as he misses out wide. Now a second serve here. First second serve that Sinner has had to hit in this game. And the second serve, it's out into the backhand of Draper. Oh, just deep with that return. And Draper Looks skyward like he just missed a golden opportunity.
Yeah, once again, I don't love the super deep position on the deuce side on second serve return. He missed it because he was trying to generate so much pace because he knew how far out of the court he was. I think it's worked nicely on the backhand side of the court, the ad side, because he can slide around, hit a forehand, and be in the middle of the court after having hit that shot.
Advantage Sinner, right down the center, the backhand middle from Draper, forehand miss hit by Sinner. Back to deuce. We saw a few of those at times in the first set. I haven't really seen him spray the forehand in the second, but that was a glaring miss.
You just don't see that, do you, Sophie? Like I think he actually hit the frame of the racket on the forehand. Clearly that grip is a little slippery in his hand.
He's got 24 unforced errors. Elise, you were highlighting that as a high number. 16 of them off the forehand for Sinner. Is now in with a forehand swinging pass attempt from Draper's just wide. Advantage Sinner.
And Sinner comes in with a swing volley and goes right up the middle and gives Draper a look. And when you're Draper and you see that opportunity, that it's just few and far between when you get these chances. And here's a game, it's another one of these games where he could just niggle his way through and get that break of serve. Got to focus, got to make the makeable balls.
Advantage Sinner. This time it's Sinner who's had to work through a game, as you were just saying, Elise. It's been Draper with the longer games in this second set. Serve down the center, blocked with a backhand off the baseline. Sinner goes forehand, backhand on the run from Draper. Now Draper steps in, crushes a backhand. Sinner takes off the baseline. Draper opens it up with a forehand. Forehand down the middle from Sinner. Blocked forehand into a big forehand that Sinner missed. Pretty routine ball from the service line. He flew it into the net. He's not through this game yet.
Yeah, Jannik Sinner set the point up beautifully, 4 or 5 furious ground strokes. Jack Draper just stayed alive with a chip forehand that landed very short. And Jannik Sinner came in. Oh, dear me.
Oh, my. Oh, boy.
Was that what I thought
it
was?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I think Jack Draper just
lost a little lunch.
Yeah, lost some of his pre-match fuel. Sophie, courtside, what did you just see that?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's exactly what happened. I mean, I'm telling you, it's really an hour and 55-minute closing on 2 hours of grueling effort from both players, and that's no surprise with the tension. What's going on?
I think they should have had a little more cleanup.
Yeah, a little more
like,
cleanup.
Maybe.
He's like, maybe a little water.
I think Mariana Velvovic is trying to stop them for just that. And she's telling Jannik Sinner.
I don't think Jannik was aware.
He was not.
And Draper is like, let's play. It's fine.
I just cleaned it up with a dry towel.
It's all good. And now Sinner is,
And she was saying,
Jack Draper, tough guy. He just vomited. And then 5 seconds later, he's ready to play.
Cue up your Pete Sampras, Alex Correia highlights from almost 30 years ago when Pete was sick on court. Won the U.S. Open that year. Who knows what the future holds for Jack Draper. Probably needs to get some more calories into him and some nutrition. But right now he's got to try to find a way to break this serve from Jannik Sinner. But Sinner going right at his wounded opponent. Down the line with a backhand. Advantage Sinner.
And there you had some fabulous footwork from Sinner as he got around to hit the forehand. And that's vintage Sinner. Inside in.
Now, Macca, if you're coaching somebody, this is a moment for the killer instinct where you're seeing your opponent, this grueling match, 2 hours, get sick on the court. You would want to see your guy, make him run a little bit more and see how he's really feeling. But like you said, Sinner didn't even realize that Draper had gotten sick. Serve down the center, the return blocked back by Draper. 4-all here in the second set.
We'll never forget, because I was actually on the court. I was doing TV when Pete Sampras lost his lunch. But it was amazing how he's sick. He just walked up to the line, just boom, ace.
Yes, he could serve aces.
So it didn't matter.
He'll be serving aces long after he's gone. That service motion was so pure.
And let's see if there are any ill effects, no pun intended, on Jack Draper, who had gotten sick during that long service game from Jannik Sinner. Great wide serve from Draper, who now runs right and then drills a backhand. He tucks it up the right sideline. That's the play he's been trying to run all day, and he ran it right there with great effect. It's 15-love.
Jack Draper is becoming my hero right now. I don't think I've seen anyone rebound so quickly from throwing up on court.
Well, I think what happened was he tried to he tried to hide it. So it's not like it was a big dramatic thing where everybody saw what he did and then the crowd would get behind him. He just kind of did it, quickly ran over, grabbed a towel, and was, Sinner didn't notice on the other side of the court as Draper missed that first serve. Now the second serve into a backhand return from Sinner, a forehand middle from Draper, forehand middle from both. It's a backhand into a cross court. Now forehand line, Draper had hit the tape, sat up for Sinner to drill a forehand right at Draper. Low volley from Sinner, now a forehand. Oh, Draper panicked and flew it long through everything. It's 15 all.
Oh, and that was a real opportunity for Draper. That point.
It makes the game a little bit more interesting now at 15 all.
The net cord that clips the tape, but Draper does an incredible job dumping the backhand cross court low and then had the opportunity on the forehand, made the easy one, made the hard one, missed the easy one.
Oh, he's doubled
over
there.
Oh, boy.
That's not good.
Draper before the serve, so everybody was holding their breath, literally and figuratively. Plays a serve and volley. What a backhand volley! And he tucked it away, so it was traveling off the court, out of the reach of Jannik Sinner. 30-15 here for Draper.
Yeah, and he's going right back to his talent. It looked like he might lose a little bit of the lunch again, and smart from him. Didn't want to play an elongated point, went with the serve and volley and executed beautifully.
Just a glorious backhand volley there. He kept it low over the tape, angled it cross court. Just A+ volley there.
At 30-15, here's Draper going serve and volley again. Did not need to hit an A+ volley, but he hit a good two-handed backhand volley cross court. He had so much room to work with, 40-15.
Yeah, that was interesting that he went to the two-hander on that high volley. Usually most players will just go to the classic one-hander, but he just goes right for two hands and bunts it off.
A la Jimmy Connors.
Yes.
It's like fresh out of 1982.
Serve and volley from Draper. Oh, what a volley. He got low for that. Sinner got there, though, with a great volley of his own. Draper has the opening. Sinner's there. He flicks up a lob. Sinner falls. He's on his back. Draper waits at the service line. Hits the overhead right at Sinner, who passed. Nobody saw it coming, but Sinner is holding his left wrist, and now he is doubled over. Jannik Sinner fell at the back of the court. He got tangled up in his feet. He's got a very serious look on his face, and this crowd is now going to wait and maybe fear the worst as it begins to sink in perhaps the enormity of what's happened here. Sinner, a very serious look on his face. He's back at his towel. He's crouched over, and he's got his left wrist completely wrapped in that towel, puts the racket down, wipes his face off, and it looks like maybe it was a scary shooting pain. We're getting to see the replay. He was at full stretch when he hit that. He slid, and then trying to stop short, it looked like more of an issue for his ankles, but he landed on his wrist. Let's see if it affects his shot making. Good wide serve from Draper. Sinner can't get it back. We are certainly going to keep it right here because there's going to be medical attention for everybody. Draper got sick a few minutes ago on the court, but the more lasting concern for this match, the left wrist of Jannik Sinner as we await the physios.
Well, I tell you, this is crazy events going through this court. The physio is on court looking at the wrist of Sinner, and then the other physio is looking at the poor Draper just not being able to hold his food. The tension, first of all, is huge between the two. The points that they've been playing, 2 hours and 2 minutes, extremely difficult. And, I was talking, next to me, I'm with Andrea Petkovic, and I was talking about the heat and the humidity. It's not that humid when you courtside. So I'm not, we've had much more humid condition. I think it's just the way that they're playing, the intensity level, and what's at stake, that both players are, putting so much probably pressure on their body and their mind that it's reflecting now, really, especially for Draper, who is taking some pills right now, probably to stop the being nauseated and hopefully stop what happened for him, the poor thing. But the wrist is being attended as well. There's a lot of movement with the ball crew bringing towels, bringing water, bringing ice. It is busy out here, people.
Yeah, Jannik Sinner slipped, fell backwards, and had to brace the fall with his left wrist.
And now the full medical timeout. So first the physio comes out and evaluates the player. And now we see that trainer manipulating the inside of the left wrist of Jannik Sinner. On our scoreboard, it says the medical timeout's for Draper, but the chair umpire said it was for Sinner. I think that's just it. But although Draper still has the physios with him.
I think they're both getting one, actually. I think she might have called the medical timeout. Now there is some kind of moth was on the right shoulder of Sinner. It just flew away. I mean, what else can happen here?
Don't jinx it.
Yeah, and the amazing thing, that point, the shot that Sinner hit, just the outright winner. And we could see he shook his wrist. He gets up, he falls, he shakes his left wrist, and then just scorches a winner off his forehand side.
Yeah, that's quality tennis. When you fell down and you get back up and you're able to display this kind of tennis. How about the focus and concentration? So hopefully he's able to continue here, as he's still being attended by the physio for his wrist.
I'm really concerned for him, Sophie. This happened to John Isner in one of his last US Opens. It was, I think, almost match point or right at the very, very end of a match. He did the exact same thing. He lost his balance, had to brace his fall with his left wrist. He was able to win the last point to win the match, but then he had to, there was no way he could go again in the next round. He had to default to Holger Rune.
I remember that from, like you said, towards the tail end of John's career. And you could sense as well, just by looking at Sinner's face, how, sometimes you see a player fall and they kind of just wince, but he had this deadly serious look on his face. It was a look that you would say is just a look of serious concern.
Yeah, that's exactly the way John looked at me.
Just a warning for 1 minute left on the medical timeout of Jannik Sinner here from the head referee Jake and the chair umpire.
In case you're just joining us or just dipped out for a moment, Jannik Sinner won the first set 7-5. We're deep in the second set. Last two games saw Jack Draper get sick and vomit on court, so he's got a medical timeout as he tries to just get some fluids on board, get some food back in him. Jannik Sinner, though, maybe more concerning, fell trying to chase down a ball. He lost his footing and then trying to brace his fall, as David McPherson just said. He landed on his wrist and immediately looked to be in great pain.
But a good sign for Sinner. He did not get that taped. You'd think if it was hurting more, they might have figured out a way to tape it. So we'll just see. But I think that's a good sign.
Yeah, it looks like they did some manipulations of sorts to his wrist. And one thing you didn't see on TV is that the whole ball crew and crew here on the Entourage cleaned up also, not to be too explicit, the vomit of Draper, or at least the trace of it.
That's the end of the court from where Sinner is now serving. And let's get a look at Jannik Sinner now. 4-5. He had two very smooth service games where he held it low. He had won 10 straight points on his serve at one point, but in that last game, he was pushed to the brink by Jack Draper, who, as we said, got sick in that game. Sinner takes that first point. It's 15-love. Draper twirling the racket. Now the toss from Sinner, flatten out wide, and ace. Macca, does it matter that it's the left wrist and not the right that Sinner hurt? Obviously, the racket hand is the right hand, but you're still hitting a two-handed backhand.
Yeah, every two-hander. We'll know pretty soon how badly it's hurt, because if he can't brace for impact on a two-handed backhand, well, I guess he could play with just all one-handed, but that's asking a lot.
Serve down the center into the backhand from Sinner. Backhand center from Draper. Backhand cross from Draper. Maybe trying to test that Sinner backhand. And there's Sinner nets the forehand. It's 30-15.
Yeah, he doesn't want to do the Del Potro. And all of a sudden, you go from having this great backhand to having to hit only slices. And today's tennis, in the old days, you use the two-handers, use the offhand as a guide. Today, you use that offhand it is so important, and you use that wrist. That's why we've seen, a lot of issues with wrists, with the offhand wrist, because it's used so much. And Sinner uses his a lot on the backhand.
Serve down the center into the backhand from Draper. Forehand from Sinner, cross court, backhand netted by Draper. It's 40-15.
Sinner fist pumping there as he wins that point, so still showing positive body language, which might lead me to believe he might be okay.
Big question will come when he has to return serve as well. Right now he's serving just fine. 40-15, he goes out wide. The backhand return from Draper. Sinner picks it off the baseline. Now moves right with the middle forehand. Backhand off the tape, and then it drops. Here comes Sinner, though, for the service line. Little lob. That was the only play from Draper, but it was long. It was an improvised lob, and it was a straightforward hold for Jannik Sinner for 5-all in what is now an hour and 12 minutes second set.
And for Draper now's a chance where he can test the backhand. Didn't really get that much of an opportunity in that Sinner service game, but let's see in this game. I would pepper some of the backhands with the serve and see how it responds.
This match is really turning into a war of attrition. Both players under duress.
As Draper nets that first serve, he was trying to test the backhand down the tee. The serve has been the problem for Draper. He's double faulted 9 times in this match, 3 times here in the second set. Forehand, he hooks it into the backhand cross court of Sinner. Now backhand line, running forehand Sinner, backhand from Draper. Sinner with the backhand, Draper with the two-hander. It's Sinner now with the cross court backhand. Forehand cross from Draper, off forehand from Sinner. Forehand line, a pretty winner. And then you see Sinner shaking out that left wrist after the most sustained amount of hitting he had to do, and the point goes to Draper.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's out of the woods yet. When your adrenaline is up this high, sometimes you don't feel the pain as much, but he was able to make 4 in a row, but he's wincing, shaking his left wrist out. It could be more badly hurt than he realizes at this point with his adrenaline up so far.
And that could be the scary part, too, for a tennis player, as you alluded to a few moments ago, Elise, just the importance of the wrist. And we've, the history of wrist injuries and the effects on careers, they've been well documented for men and women. 30 love here for Draper. Sinner twirls that racket at 30 love. Draper was serving out wide, but he sent it long. Sinner won the opening set 7-5. Second serve deep into the backhand. That Sinner flies long and then again flexes that left wrist.
And today's players, if you can see them, sometimes they with the offhand, they will hit a forehand, and that forehand looks perfect because they just use that hand and that arm so much.
That serve missed. Second serve here for Draper, looking for 6-5 in the second set. Down the center, he went big with that second serve, and then he played it from no man's land with a forehand, but Sinner was able to come inside the baseline and put away the cross-court forehand for 40-15.
And it's not easy for Draper because Draper's out there. Is he, what is going on? Is he injured? You have to he needs to take care of business on his side of the net and not worry about Sinner, but it's tough because you want to test it, you want to know, but you've got to keep your focus.
At 40-15, right down the center into the backhand of Sinner. The forehand off the tape, but Draper gets it to go. Sinner's there with a forehand. Draper's forehand again hits the tape. Sinner meets it with a forehand. Backhand.
Hit some pretty effective backhand returns. Hopefully that means that he's okay. That was a really good first serve from Jack Draper, but Jannik stretched out and really used his left wrist a lot to get that return back down into the court.
40-30 here for Draper. Another chance for 6-5, and he missed that wide. That's back-to-back points for Sinner when it looked like Draper was going to breeze through this game. Second serve here. Body serve, a backhand return, cross court, now forehand line, a stretched out forehand Sinner, backhand from Draper short, slice backhand from Sinner, that's the one-handed slice, now a forehand cross court, backhand cross from Draper, pushing Sinner deep, and Sinner had a good idea, but he was long with the forehand. Draper holds for 6-5. We'll take a break and come back for the important conclusion to this second set on US Open Radio, presented by American Express. Intriguing finish to this second set. Jannik Sinner leads Jack Draper by a set. It'll be Sinner, though, at 5-6. As we check the physical conditions for both players. Sophie Amiot courtside. Sophie, looks like some fresh shoes just came in for Jack Draper, who's been struggling with all the squelching and squishing and sweating as he works these conditions.
You got it. A new pair of dry shoes, more likely. And Draper, hard time, and it's not off his chair yet. But, you know, I was surprised that Draper didn't use the serve and volley. I mean, remember at 4-0 when he had the accident and, you know, obviously couldn't hold the food. He started to serve and volley, and that worked so well. Why not put a little bit of pressure to try to do that also on the next service game? He hasn't done it at all in that last service game. So let's see if Sinner here is able to hold and push it to a tiebreak.
Well, a few things that we are looking for as we thank Sophie. I'm Brian Clark, back here with David McPherson and Elise Bergen. We're looking to see how the left wrist of Jannik Sinner is holding up after that fall he took a couple of games ago. And we're still seeing him flex it and shake it out. And you could just hear so faintly in the background as Sophie was talking, James Trotman, Draper's coach, saying, keep testing him. And that means keeps hitting into that backhand to test out that two-hander. The backhand cross court from Draper. Well, you can't test him when he hits a fantastic second serve. That's what Sinner did. It's 15-love.
But once again, Jack Draper playing so deep on second serve. He's letting Jannik Sinner draw him wide. I think if I was James Trotman, I might be asking him to stay a little bit closer up on the deuce side of the court and not be exploited in such a fashion.
Yeah, and take some chances and play aggressively.
15-love here for Sinner, who missed out wide. And as we talk about injuries, you know, Sinner's, he missed the Olympics because he had an issue with his tonsillitis, kept him out of the Olympics. Draper, of course, knows about injuries. The shoulder problems cost him about 6 months last year. Forehand, a big one from Draper. He tried to tee off, but flew it into the net. It's 30-love for Sinner.
He certainly had a great opportunity there. That was not the velocity that we normally see from a Jannik Sinner backhand. It was quite weak, short in the court, and it was a relatively easy forehand down the line opportunity, but he netted it.
30-love for Sinner, who waits because Draper was going back to his towel. Sophie, did he get sick again?
Yeah, he sure did. He sure did just after that point. So he's not settling at all in this stomach, and he's asking now trying to clean again and get some towels here, get the crew to help out as the chair umpire now goes back to a chair. But I tell you, the poor guy, he just can't keep it in.
Yes.
And that's dehydrating. That's happening.
Serve goes out wide, backhand return from Draper, and then Sinner nets the forehand. He gives a free point to Draper, and then again Sinner shakes out that left wrist. That's the wrist that he hurt on that incredible point a few games ago. And we've been watching that. We've also been watching the physical condition of Jack Draper, who's now gotten sick on court several times in this match.
Total war of attrition out here. Draper returning so far behind that baseline.
At 30-15, what a wide serve from Sinner. hit it flat and wide at 118, and Draper couldn't get it back. We are on the cusp of a second set tiebreak.
It's very, as you alluded to earlier, Elise, it's very hard to play your best tennis when you know you have a wounded opponent. The temptation is to just play a little safe, not go for your shots, get a little anxious, and I think both players are suffering from this right now.
40-15 for Sinner, right down the center. A short forehand from Draper. Forehand inside in. Sinner, he holds. And we are going to a tiebreak to decide this second set.
Second set, tiebreak.
Jack Draper, as we said coming into today, had not lost a set in this U.S. Open until the first. He's not played a tiebreak until right now. Jannik Sinner's only played 2 tiebreaks in this U.S. Open. He won both. Those were both in the match against Tommy Paul.
Such a critical breaker for both. If you're Sinner, you know you can maybe escape with the match. If you're Draper, then maybe you got your man where you want him if he's injured.
Draper misses that first serve, and you think about the amount of times we've seen him get sick on court. And we could hear earlier in this set, James Trotman, when he was double faulting, saying legs. You wonder if he has any legs right now, because as you said, Elise, it's so just draining. Pardon the bad pun, as Sinner comes in and puts away the forehand for a winner, and he takes the first point of the tiebreak.
And he really unleashed that cross-court backhand there, which set up the forehand put away. That's a good sign for that left wrist, because that was a full-blooded cross-court backhand that he torched in the first point of the tiebreaker, giving him the early mini break.
Keeping our eye on that wrist for Jannik Sinner, not only for today, but certainly also for Sunday, if he's able to find a way through this semifinal. He leads Jack Draper by a set to love, and he's taken the first point of the second set tiebreak. Goes out wide. Draper leaning, gets it back. Forehand from Sinner. Powerful forehand with some topspin. Now another big forehand from the world number 1. He's taken the first 2 points of the tiebreak.
Yeah, and he went to his usual, that fist pump, showing how engaged he is. And if he can avoid hitting those backhands, he will. Getting around that and just lacing the forehand.
Yeah, Jannik's got the eye of the tiger right now. It's what great players do. They peak at the big moments, and he's trying to get himself over the finish line right here.
Now Sinner looks across the net, and the toss and the serve. It's out wide. The backhand return. Draper trying to angle it, unable to get it over the net. And Sinner has taken the first 3 points of, we're saying, is a pivotal second set tiebreak, but it's going one way. Two hours, 20 minutes. This set approaching 90 minutes. Of course, that includes the medical timeouts for both players. Sinner had to bend low to pick up something off the ground. You've got to be careful doing that, given what's gone on in terms of Draper's illness, but it was a solid. He hands it to a member of the ball crew. Now they trade from the baseline. Backhand Sinner, cross court. Draper running forehand. He airmailed it long. Sinner's 4 for 4, and Draper's got a dejected look on his face.
No, and how this has just turned so quickly, and Sinner just seizing this moment, and Draper, who has lost his lunch twice in this set, just looking not so great.
6 points in a row for Jannik Sinner. He's 3 points away from a 2 sets to love lead. Serve down the center, serve and volley from Draper. That's the play that's been working for Draper, and it works there. Another nice touch on the backhand volley as Sinner tried to pass. It stops the Sinner run, but Sinner remains in the driver's seat at 4-1.
Yeah, but really interesting. Draper kind of hit that volley up, and Sinner did not do as much with that backhand pass as he usually would.
It was a nice guess, really. Jack Draper's first volley sat up there, and Jannik Sinner could have put it anywhere. At the last millisecond, Jack guessed down the line, and he was right. And he was in position to angle the cross-court volley away.
Toss and that serve. He goes out wide and just missed it. We talked a lot about stats earlier, over the first hour and a half of this set, but the last half hour has just been all about guts, as these players have tested each other physically and tried to deal with their own physical problems. But right now, it's Jannik Sinner who is handling the question better than Jack Draper. He has taken 5 of the first 6 points here in this second set tiebreak as they change ends.
Jack had a really good look at a forehand winning opportunity there. The return was excellent. He played deep, hit a heavy topspin forehand that set up the short ball, but just overcooked the inside out forehand long by a foot or so.
Sinner's taken, we just had the graphic, 11 of the last 15 points. And he's a couple of points away from going up 2 sets to love on Jannik Sinner. Or, excuse me, on Jack Draper. It is Jannik Sinner to serve here. Looks across the court, Draper deep to receive serve, and Sinner missed it long. Pause in the second serve. He goes out wide. Backhand cross court. A deep one, though, from Draper, who now steps in for the backhand. Sinner stays on the forehand, slugging that ball. Cross court backhand, tighter angle. Sinner. Draper tried to tighten the angle, but missed it wide. Draper a little slow on his feet right now, and Sinner has 5 set points.
Once again, a cross court backhand from Sinner with excellent velocity. That's a really good sign that perhaps he might have gotten through this scare unscathed with that left wrist.
Serve goes out wide. Serve and volley play from Draper. Down a couple of set points. He saves the first. 6-2.
Yeah, and it is also a good sign that he's not shaking it out a lot, which we were seeing at the beginning. So hopefully for him, more of a scare. We'll find out.
Flat serve out wide and reaching for it, almost connecting on the forehand return with Sinner. Draper saves the set points on his serve, but now it's Sinner who's got 2 points here and just needs one of them to take a 2 sets to love lead.
But as we saw earlier in the tournament, no lead is safe. We had Ben Shelton, I think, up 6-love on Francis Tiafoe in an early tiebreaker, and it got all the way back to 6-5. You can never, ever take your foot off the pedal in a tiebreaker.
6-3 for Sinner here. Deep behind the baseline is Draper on set point for Sinner, and he's got the set. Jannik Sinner has not lost a match this year when he has won the first 2 sets. And he is 1 set away from a berth in the U.S. Open final. He leads Jack Draper 2 sets to love on U.S. Open Radio, presented by American Express. Be forgiven if you wanted to take a shower or brush your teeth after that set of tennis, because we saw a bit of everything. We saw Jack Draper get sick on the court a couple of times, take it upon himself to clean up the court with a towel. We saw Jannik Sinner suffer a kind of nasty-looking wrist injury, but Sinner won that set in a tiebreak to take a 2-sets-to-love lead over Draper. Sophie Amiot courtside. Sophie, it looked like Sinner saw the physio again during the set break.
Yeah, but that wasn't for the wrist. The physio worked on his legs, and just FYI, I just saw something I've never seen, and now Sinner took just like if he was brushing his teeth, to tell you the truth, he was gargling some water in his mouth, came towards where I'm sitting, which is behind the chair umpire, and went to the trash and pretty much spat out all the water. I'm like, oh, lovely, I'm having a great time here.
Well, a lot of athletes, that's the thing now. I think they call that carb rinsing.
Yeah, I think that's what he did. You're right. Because
he
put something in there at first, and then, obviously it's something completely new. In my days, we didn't even know what that meant, right, Elise?
Yeah. Well, Elise was actually, I think, carb rinsing herself.
Oh,
so
she did.
she'll
see.
Check in a moment. And then did Draper?
And then, Draper left the court and went for a bathroom break, probably to change. He took some of his drink and water, with him. I think dehydration is probably one of the aspects of the match that we have to look for in Draper after what happened to him twice. Always on the same side of the court where his camp is, so he hasn't, had any accident on the other side. But surely he's coming back on court with a complete new outfit and a little drier, which is going to feel good, I think, for him. But I have to say that I think, for me, seeing where he was and the feeling that he had, I think the serve and volley was crucial, and I wish that he had even tried to even return and volley, because, from the baseline, he just couldn't take it anymore because of, I think, dehydration and the way he was feeling with his stomach being completely bothered. So let's see if he implements a little bit more of this serve and volley and coming to the net, because that was really successful when he needed it in the second set.
It's been just about 6 minutes since that set came to an end. As Jack Draper's arrived back on court, Jannik Sinner will serve to begin this third set as he looks for a berth in Sunday's U.S. Open final. I'm sure he'll get a whole bunch of questions about the state of that left wrist. Brian Clark back here with David McPherson and Elise Bergen. You just heard from Sophie Amiot courtside. And Macca, you were talking throughout that set. We saw Sinner take that fall, injure the wrist late in the set. You were saying he's not out of the woods yet. I'm not asking you to say yes or no right now, but as this match goes on, if he's not feeling it right now and is able to play through it, I think the signs since that initial fall, they seem generally positive. Is that saying too much?
I would agree. I think the signs are good right now. The signs are good. He's been able to rip through the two-hander late in the set. I think he might be okay.
Question is he okay to reach the U.S. Open final? And how would that wrist be potentially on Sunday against either Taylor Fritz or Frances Tiafoe? That'll be a question for the future as he's moving Jack Draper around the baseline left and right, and ultimately Draper misses long with the backhand. It's 15-love.
And it's interesting, and I don't know, I'm not sure of the answer, because his physio and his trainer, we know that he let them go before this event, and I don't know who Sinner has on hand that is taking care of these types of things. It's not who he's used to.
That's a great point, Elise, and I did not think of that. Of course, the ATP, the U.S. Open, they've got people, but a top player would have his own team that he'd be very familiar with, and yeah, that played a key role in the doping situation and the process as it played out there. But that's a fantastic point to think about. 30-love, though, right here for Sinner.
Yeah, the medical staff here at the US Open are just absolutely first class, and he'll probably be going in and getting some scans on that wrist after the match.
Just to make sure there's nothing, structural or anything that could cause a real problem. Then there's the question, how's it going to feel when you wake up tomorrow? If he wins this match, he'll probably have a light practice session tomorrow just to move the body a little bit, or maybe that depends on how this goes.
Absolutely, yeah. I remember that day after the match with John, we went out with the intention of having a practice, but he hit 5 or 6 two-handed backhands, and he knew right away that something was horribly wrong. And off to the hospital we went for scans, and sure enough, he had a fracture.
Yeah, that was the U.S. Open here 2 years ago. That was when Sinner suffered one of his one of his several heartbreaks at the U.S. Open. That was the year he lost that match at 2:50 in the morning to Carlos Alcaraz, who went on to win the title that year. And Sinner had a match point in that match. It's also worth noting that as Sinner hits an ace there, one of the 2 times he has lost a match from 2 sets to love up was here. His second U.S. Open, 2020. There were no fans. He blew a 2 sets to love lead to Karin Khachanov and lost that match in a 5th set tiebreak. But no problems here as he holds with an ace to begin the 3rd set.
It's been a courageous performance by both players. I mean, Jack Draper, multiple times having to vomit on court, and yet he's just soldiering on. So blue collar.
It wasn't, he just loses his lunch. He goes and gets a towel, he wipes it a little bit, and he's just ready to play the next point.
Winston Churchill would be very proud of him right now.
We need to recruit him.
Stiff upper lip. It wasn't too stiff, though, as he was obviously losing his lunch. But he has rallied and gotten himself back into this. But he's going to need to rally a whole lot more. If you were wondering, the other time that Jannik Sinner lost a 2 sets to love lead, Wimbledon 22 to Novak Djokovic. 15 love here for Draper as he dotted the outside of that center service line. It's a real question of what's in the tank after that 89-minute second set. We're on court now for more than 2.5 hours. Backhand cross court from Sinner. Stretched out forehand, a deep one from Draper, who goes cross court with a backhand. And I think I have those physical questions more about Draper than about Sinner. Draper's, we've seen him get sick. He's been through it all physically, but has been unable to break through in this match. And this is the point where you think, that natural frustration has to take over at some point. $15 for Draper here, and that serve flattened out wide. A forehand return Sinner, backhand into net from Draper, and it's 15-30.
And you think back to when he came out on the court, and he was adamant about having the ice towels, about having everything, and you wonder, was there something going on before the match? Because with the fan and the whole thing, he was dead set on having all that set up.
Remember, we talked about it before in the pre-match interview when he appeared with James Blake in the tunnel. We commented we said he looked so lathered up. Normally players will break a sweat, certainly, warming up before a match, but he looked, like he was already going through it physically as Sinner's return is long. It's 30-all for Draper.
We've seen a few of those second serve returns missed by Jannik Sinner. What should be a fairly routine cross-court backhand return. He's missed a few and just giving Jack Draper a little bit of life.
30-all right down the center, a little bit long. Draper had to wait for that ball crew member to pick up the ball, and now he's ready. 30-all. Deep position for Sinner on the return. Now Sinner recovers and hits a forehand pass against an increasingly empty-looking Jack Draper. And Sinner's got a break point here.
Yeah, well, we know there's nothing wrong with the Sinner forehand there. And he just laced the forehand. And you're absolutely right about Draper. Won't even make a move to that.
I would say if there's one shot he might rep tomorrow, assuming that he gets through to the final, is that forehand up the line. That was a beauty right there, but he has not hit that well thus far today.
Break point here for Sinner, and Draper saves it with a powerful forehand from the baseline. The stretch volley, was not able to get it over the net. It's deuce. You're looking at some potential singles finals matchup. Sinner and Fritz have played twice, and they have split their 2 meetings. Fritz winning at Indian Wells in 2021. Sinner ended Fritz's title defense there in 2023 in a 3-set win. Draper now has the advantage as Sinner nets that backhand. Sinner against Tiafoe. They have met 5 times. Sinner has won 4 of the 5, including, of course, most recently that Cincinnati final just a couple of weeks ago. Only Tiafoe win came indoors in Vienna in 2021, end of the season. Advantage here for Draper, and he's on the board. Crowd knows that was an important hold for Jack Draper. He holds for 1-all in the 3rd.
And I'm sure they're really appreciating his courage here, finding a way to stay competitive despite all his travails. Sophie getting her wish, a little bit of serve volley in that game.
That's for sure, and that worked. I still think that, especially, you know, he's tired. I mean, he's definitely spent. You can tell. I mean, he was putting some cold water on his face when he changed side at one love, and he has to shorten the point somewhat, somewhere, somehow.
Serve out wide. What a return from Draper, as Sinner did not get enough width on that wide serve, and Draper's cross-court backhand, a beauty. It's love 15.
Yeah, well, always beware the wounded bear.
Because you're relaxed. When you're this sick, you're just so relaxed. You're just swinging for the fences. All the tension's gone from your body, so you can pull off some stuff that you sometimes wouldn't have.
At love 15, off the tape, and then it drops out wide. Second serve here for Sinner. Up the center he goes, and Draper trying to take it into a winner, but he was well wide with the backhand. 15 all.
Well, he was trying to come up and take that and to come up to the net, which is another tactic that he can do that might work as well.
Yeah, on second serve return, yes, I think he was definitely trying to take it early and immediately advance to the net for another volley, where he is doing well right now.
15 all. It's Sinner out wide, leaning and blocking into net. It's Draper with the backhand. 30-15 here for Sinner.
And it's just interesting, the different approaches from players. I've been watching Tommy Paul a lot this year, in the last year or two, where he's really tried to go after second serves, come in and use volleys. I think we even saw last night, we saw Emma Navarro really taking on the second serve of Sabalenka. It didn't work out for her in the end, but it was certainly strategically really interesting and was something that could work.
Could very well be the play for Jess Pegula in tomorrow's women's final. Jannik Sinner a handful of games away from getting to the men's final on Sunday. Cross court with a forehand. The backhand is wide from Draper. It's 40-15 here for Sinner.
Yeah, if you're Jannik Sinner right now, you're just playing really physical, high percentage tennis. Long rallies are your friend right now.
Yeah, I mean, not that you don't like the guy, but you want to torture your man right now and test him. And you know, we talked about testing the Sinner backhand, test the capacity of Draper.
Forehand cross court into the backhand line. That Sinner rips into a winner. Not much resistance from either returner in those two games. The servers had it pretty straightforward. These two look like they have been through the ringer. We're only early in the third set, but 2 hours, 41 minutes. It's Jannik Sinner up 2 sets to love when we come back on US Open Radio, presented by American Express.
Get ready for the next star to shine. This is US Open Radio, presented by American Express.
Jack Draper taking every last second to use that tube that's blowing chilled air onto him courtside in Arthur Ashe Stadium. He's got 2 packs of ice on him.
Yes, he's been wearing and putting the pack. You know, the ball crew is just right away as soon as he changes in, puts that on his legs, across his legs, and then on his neck to try to cool him down. He took quite a bit of water on the changeover. He hasn't been, you know, drinking as much, just because I think he couldn't hold much in his stomach. So let's hope that stays there right now.
That serve goes out wide. I'm not you guys might know as professional athletes and coaches and a bit of both, but body serve from Draper into Sinner's backhand. Now backhand from Sinner, the cross-court backhand. Now there's a forehand middle from Sinner. They trade, center of the baseline. Who's going to make the move here? It's Draper missing wide with the forehand. But I know there's the school of thought where you don't necessarily want to just drink water because you don't get as much nutrition out of water. So that's why you see players putting the tablets in or going to sports drinks. So you've got to try to walk that line to stay hydrated, and especially if you're Draper, you seemingly can't keep anything down at the moment. Love 15 here for Draper.
I didn't get too sophisticated because maybe we weren't that sophisticated in the 90s with, it was a little Gatorade and mix it up. But now, just scientifically, there's so much more that you can hydrate with.
I think Jack's service motion, you can see it's visibly affected. Sinner missing a routine backhand return there into the net, but the Draper serve looked a little bit affected to me, only serving perhaps 80% full capacity.
The serve numbers for Draper have not been good. He's getting half the first serves in, but there he plays a serve and volley. Got low for that volley. Sinner at full stretch couldn't get his own volley back over. 30-15 for Draper.
30-15.
He's going to take enormous confidence in his net game away from this match. I mean, he's made some beautiful low volleys from awkward situations, shown extraordinary touch.
And he gets in so quickly behind his serve. Just that beautiful motion just goes right into the court.
Going serve and volley again, and Sinner trying to angle the backhand away from him, but missed wide. It's 40-15 here for Draper. So not before 7 o'clock start for the night session. Looks like we might have a bit of a late start for the second semifinal between Taylor Fritz and Frances Tiafoe, because that's a separate ticket. So everybody here in Arthur Ashe Stadium, they've got to empty out Ashe, and then they turn it over quickly here. They're very good at it, but it's going to be some time. What a pass from Sinner, as that was a bit of a delayed net charge from Draper, and Sinner made him pay 40-30.
Yeah, and he threw in a serve with not much on it, trying to come in behind that one. But you're absolutely right about the serve and volley, and how a guy like Draper can implement that in his game, especially on these faster surfaces.
Toss and that serve out wide. He plays the serve and volley, comes in, drops the racket as Sinner's return was long. Draper holds for 2-all, so Draper looks far less than his best physically, but he's hanging in this set.
Killing you with a slider, first and second serves on the deuce. Go deep and shape it, or come up a bit higher, or sit on it.
It's the pretty direct instructions from James Trotman, Draper's coach.
Come on, mate. First point. Here we go. Come on.
James Trotman very deep into the world of abstract art, and not just a casual guy. He is active in the auctions. He's buying, he's selling. And, you pick up some big-time prize money from the U.S. Open. Your cut of that, he might be treating himself after this run here in Queens. Second serve from Sinner, and Draper comes in with a backhand middle. Now a backhand, center of the court from Draper. To his left he goes, and then nets the forehand. It's 15-love.
15-love.
Great return.
Yeah, I think his coach was advising him to cut off the angle a little bit more on that second serve return, which he did on that occasion. Got himself neutral into the point. Good little adjustment there, I think.
At 15-love, here's Sinner from the far baseline. Draper comes in for that serve and tries to block it back, but he punched it long with the backhand. It's 30-love.
And semifinals, a cool $1 million in terms of prize money. So even if you go out this round, you had a pretty good 2 weeks.
At 30-love, yeah, that's a nice, there've been substantial investments in prize money. USTA, their goal has been, though, to really juice the money at the bottom for the first round, for the qualifiers, just to make sure those players who really depend on that money get the most. Now in at net, it's Sinner, and he hits the overhead off a lob that got nowhere near enough height from Draper. 40-love for Sinner. And now Draper is walking to the chair. I think he needed something to drink.
40-love.
It's 40-love, or maybe ask for a certain drink to be brought out during the changeover. But that just shows that maybe Draper's not as dialed in as he would need to be right now. That served long from Sinner, working out in the ad court.
I believe he was asking for a Coke.
Ah.
Mm-hmm.
Get the sugar. Goes right into the body, blocked back by Draper. Now a forehand inside in. Sinner. No resistance from Draper. And Sophie will be on, she's been on shoe watch, she's been on shirt watch, she's been on doctor watch, and now she's going to be on beverage watch.
I've been busy, to say the least. Now he's pulling some Tupperware out and probably going to eat something, I believe.
Yeah, it looks like some fruit, maybe.
Yeah, well, I mean, you think about, you know, one thing about, you have to really give him credit because he hasn't been mopping about it. I mean, he's probably feeling like, I don't want to say it because we're on the air, but you can't imagine. I mean, most players would be in the same situation. You would have seen them going, oh, I don't feel good, and complain, and this and that, but none of that. And that's pretty admirable, I tell you, because, oh boy, I can only imagine. I've never had it happen to me in the match. I had it in practice. You know, I was lucky to be coached by Billie Jenkins for 2 years, and Billie even today say, I know I pushed you a lot. Although I loved it, I can tell you that one time I had to run straight to the bathroom during a practice. I was like so completely giving so much out, and it wasn't pretty. Let's put it this way. Sorry to share this moment with you all.
Yeah, no.
Did that happen to you, Elise?
No, I never.
Never.
Nope, never. No.
Okay.
Clearly,
well, you probably didn't work out as hard.
I was going to say
I
was not you. Clearly, I did not practice hard enough. That I was just not of that type to make myself sick. Like, you know, if I was getting close to sick, I'm like, all right, that's
You're like,
enough.
okay, that's enough. Yeah, let's call it a day.
But Draper's, he's been a warrior out here. If you think about it, been an absolute warrior. The Navy SEALs would want to recruit this guy.
Yeah, and the ambience, you know, in the stadium is a little bit flatter right now. I mean, they were so excited in that second set, you know, even throughout the match. I mean, it's been a really tight match, and even though the score is tight, you feel like, you know, it would be great if they could help Draper a little bit more here. But, you know, all these people are here for another match, and the American Tiafoe and Fritz awaits in probably the locker room right now.
Yeah, that's supposed to start at around 7, but there's a good chance that could go on late. And you can see Draper just kind of making some faces to himself and trying to get himself back into this third set. What is for him a must-win third set. And he'll have a second serve here from the far baseline. Sinner has time to line it up and crack that forehand and then miss that second forehand wide. 15 love here for Draper. Sophie was reporting about how she thought Draper had requested some kind of soda or soda pop, fizzy drink, whatever you want to call it, depending on where you live. He didn't get it. It did not come out during that changeover, so we'll keep an eye on that if he does get one at some point in this match. And here comes Sinner with a drop shot, bringing Draper in, and Draper a step late. And now it's Sinner testing his opponent's physical capability.
Yeah, well, of all the drinks that they're going to have available for the players, Coke isn't one of them. It's not at the top of the list. You don't think of that, but I can guess that's what he wants to try to settle his stomach.
Remember a few years ago, Serena Williams, I think it might have been in Perth at the Hopman Cup, where she wanted she asked for an espresso to come out courtside. I think she got it. She's Serena.
Right.
And she needed that late night jolt of energy, and now Draper double faults. It's 15-30.
Definitely that service motion looks a little hampered to me. Not quite getting the full turn, the full torso twist to get the maximum spin. He's just been a gladiator out there, though, fighting through it somehow.
15-30 here for Jack Draper, who is far less than his best physically. We've seen him get sick on court, but it has not dulled his fight in his maiden major semifinal. Backhand cross court into a forehand open line. That's the pattern Draper wants. Sinner has not given it to him in this match. Draper down the line with a forehand, stops, comes in, and then puts that forehand away. It kind of just almost given up the point, as if to say, I can't do anything more, but he was able to rally and put that away for 30 all.
Oh, just remarkable defense from Sinner. We've talked about so good in the extremes of the court, and Draper's like, are you kidding me? You got that?
It's interesting. We can see what kind of penetration Draper can hit with his forehand when he's relaxed. We weren't seeing that type of velocity on his forehand in the first set.
First serve into net from Draper, who now trudges back to the baseline. Winces. Toss in the second serve. It's down the center. Plays the serve and volley. Sinner passes from a very defensive position. That was an 87-mile-an-hour serve, and Sinner was able to slot the backhand. Has a break point that, the way this is going, feels almost like a match point.
Yeah, and Draper couldn't even go for this return, which really was kind of high, and under normal circumstances, he could have made a play.
Break point here for Sinner. Draper misses wide down the center. Draper's really had to dig deep, and he's got a second serve here. He just floats it into the backhand of Sinner. Forehand down the line from Draper. He's not really moving. Steps in for the forehand. Sinner covering the ground with the backhand. Little volley from Draper. There's Sinner. There was no defense from Jack Draper. He couldn't move to cut off that backhand. Jannik Sinner grabs what looks like it could be the decisive break in this third set as he inches towards a U.S. Open final.
And that point, the movement was vintage Sinner. And, oh goodness, wounded Draper, just trying to hang in there, trying to finish this match. But it was, in terms, if you're thinking about Sinner and you're thinking about Sunday and the finals, that was a good sign, that last point.
Draper in his ready position to receive. Sturr was really just standing there with his hands on both knees, kind of doubled over. As Sinner looks to move in for the final few moments of this semifinal and put himself into the U.S. Open final on Sunday. 5 minutes shy of the 3-hour mark. Backhand from Draper, a deep forehand Sinner. And again, Draper does not really contest that shot. It's 15-love.
Yeah, I think you look at the way he responded. We'll be shaking hands in a couple minutes here, but just credit to him for trying to hang in here.
15-love and serve into net. We saw on our camera they do have that soda ready to bring out to Jack Draper, covered in a cup because you know, not an official tournament sponsor. Backhand from Draper, now a cross-court forehand from Sinner. Forehand big from Sinner. He keeps Draper pushed back, and then Draper's long with the forehand. It's 30-love.
Boy, the crowds appreciated the effort, though. They're going to give him a rousing reception.
30-love here from Sinner, who goes out wide. Draper does not even move towards that ball, and not like Sinner hit a missile of a serve. 102, but it's 40-love. Now this one feels like it's over. 40-love for the world number one to go up 5-2 in the third set, and he's up 5-2 in the third set. Another ace out wide into the backhand, and Sophie will tell us if Draper even bothers to drink his soda, because he looks out on his feet right now, and it looks like Jannik Sinner is going to be a U.S. Open semifinalist.
Yeah, he's, I mean, he's completely spent. I mean, you can tell, not able to move. He's getting the soda right now. I'm not even sure he's going to even touch it, to tell you the truth, because, you know, I mean, it's scary when you feel that way, you know. It could happen at any minute, and you can tell that he has absolutely zero energy. I mean, it was the length as he's opening the soda, by the way, the length of this match, you know, being only, you know, 3 sets by 3 hours, that's an hour a set, and those are, I mean, on an average, obviously the third set is not that long, but just the average rally and the length and the difficulty that it was, both really having, you know, exhausting so much energy. And if you don't feel good, and you know, you lose so much energy from obviously getting ill, I mean, you're going to pay the price eventually. I'm just surprised that it could even last that long the way he was feeling.
Yeah, this bill has certainly come due, and it'll be interesting to find out after this match if he brought an illness onto the court with him, because we're watching him sit courtside as he was sipping that can of soda. He didn't look like somebody who was, you know, in a tough match and was feeling it physically. He looked like somebody who's sick and happens to be playing tennis. He looks like somebody who should be nursing a thing of soup under a blanket on a couch.
Looks like someone who at the moment might not even know who his name. I mean, he's just, if you just think about it, he might have come out on this court not feeling great, and the physicality, especially that first set where he was he was so close to taking that first set, which would have been so important for him to do. But then he just fought like the Dickens in set number 2, and then obviously just nothing left for this third set.
Let's see if he's got anything left to hold serve here and make Jannik Sinner serve this out. Crowd has been impressed, rightfully so, with the fight and with the perseverance of Jack Draper, but he looks like he is just cooked at the moment as Draper serves and now hits a backhand. He's been shortening these points in these moments and then came up short on that forehand. It's love 15. 7 straight points for Sinner as he twirls the racket, looks to move towards the U.S. Open final. Up the center he goes, and we talked about it deep in that second set. When Sinner got hurt, he fell and put his hand down and braced his fall with his left wrist. We haven't really seen any physical problems after those first few games as Draper gets that point with a good body serve. But I don't think that story is over. I think that's something we'll be thinking about heading into the Sunday final, just to make sure that he's okay and hope that he's able to take the court on Sunday. Jack Draper at 15 all. Missed that first serve into the center of the net. Down the center, Sinner to his left, and he just misfired on that backhand.
30-15.
It certainly hasn't been a clean, pure ball striking performance from Jannik Sinner today. It's been gritty. He looks like he's about to find a way, but he certainly wouldn't be thrilled with the way his ball striking went today.
The energy has really been zapped out of Arthur Ashe Stadium here after those epic first 2 sets. Just a physically drained Jack Draper, and that's taken some of the starch out of this crowd as well as Draper punches that forehand long. And we are 2 points from the finish line as we hit the 3-hour mark.
And poor guy, just, you could just see him just going up to that service line. Barely.
30 all, the toss and the serve. He goes flat and out wide. Nice return, though, from Sinner, who now nets his cross-court backhand. And Draper's got a chance to hold on here and at least make Sinner serve this out.
It was a little Sampras in that one. You know, he just kind of got himself up there and put in a decent serve.
First serve is into net. Second serve, backhand down the line. Oh, Sinner didn't have to step out far for that one, but he was able to angle it nicely for a winner and deuce.
It's one of the few backhand returns Jannik Sinner's executed down the line this match. He's been going middle or cross court nearly every time off the lefty slider.
Down the center goes Draper into the backhand long from Sinner. Draper can get through this game. As we said before, Sinner's just the 3rd ever Italian man to reach the semifinals here in the Open era. Nobody's ever gotten to the finals. Corrado Barazzuti was beaten by the world #1 Jimmy Connors in 1977. Matteo Berrettini lost to Rafael Nadal here 5 years ago, 2019. Hard to believe that was 5 years ago. Deuce here for Draper as he's unable to put this game away. He'd move into some really exclusive company, too. Just speaking of the consistency all year long at the majors. At deuce, Draper goes out wide. Nice return from Sinner. Backhand drop shot. Draper. Sinner comes in, puts the forehand down the left sideline. And Jannik Sinner has a match point. It would be his 22nd win at a major this year. Only 4 players this century have done that. Djokovic has done it 8 times. Federer and Nadal 6 times each. Murray twice. And now Jannik Sinner can join them, and he can join them with a berth in the U.S. Open men's final. Jack Draper, who has fought so valiantly over 3 hours and 2 minutes, but clearly far below 100%. Second serve from Draper, the backhand return. Sinner, it's a winner, and it is Jannik Sinner into the U.S. Open final. It was a battle of attrition over 2 sets. We hope both are okay. Sinner with the wrist injury that he picked up in the second set. he showed no adverse effects as that match went on, but maybe he should not be hugging Jack Draper, who was clearly ill as that match went on. But Sinner, a good sportsman, and now he stands at the court embracing the cheers and the applause from this crowd. Draper fought so valiantly, but ultimately the energy meter just was zapped by the end. And it is Sinner, 3 hours, 3 minutes, 7-5, 7-6, 6-2 into his first ever U.S. Open final against either Taylor Fritz or Frances Tiafoe.
Nothing came easy today for Jannik Sinner. It just wasn't his finest performance, but he stayed the course and he elevated his game in that tiebreaker. Really took the match by the scruff of the neck, and that was ultimately what was too much for Jack Draper in the end, who did nothing but enhance his reputation today, though, like as a competitor and a player. I mean, the crowd really appreciated what he put out there today.
Yeah, he's certainly going to learn some valuable lessons. He'll be inside the world top 20 for the first time now. He will leave here at 20 in the world. But you also, Sophie, unfortunately, you do take some hard lessons from a day like this.
Yes, very hard lessons, but you know, in a sense, you have to applaud as he's leaving the court. Listen to the crowd.
Draper.
Yeah, that was a really fantastic effort from him to play in this first 2 sets, and I think that, you know, Sinner was really tested today. I mean, he did have 4 sets matches, but those first 2 sets were grueling and difficult. And yeah, the question is going to be that wrist. I agree, because once he cools off and he gets treatment, that's when the problem occurs, or tomorrow morning. But let's hear from him. He's now with James Blake's getting ready for the on-court interview. But here we go.
That second set. Congratulations. That was unbelievable, but it had absolutely everything. The drama, your opponent not feeling good, you falling. How's your wrist? You had everything going in that second set.
Yeah, first of all, me and Jack, we know each other very well. We are good friends off the court. It was a very physical match, as we see, and you know, I just tried to stay there mentally. He's so tough to beat. It's a very special occasion. Thanks everyone to come out. The support has been amazing. Yeah, and just happy to be in the final here.
Yeah, you've gained so many fans these last couple of weeks, and now the finals is coming up, and you're going to be playing an American no matter what. So, how do you think that's going to be? How do you think that's going to feel playing an American here in the finals of the U.S. Open?
Yeah, I'm just happy to be in the final here. Whoever it is, it's going to be a very tough challenge for me, but I'm just looking forward to it. It's the season I'm going through. It's very, very positive. Finals, they are very special days. Every Sunday you get to play during tournament means that you are doing an amazing job. So, you know, we just try to keep pushing, and then we'll see what I can do Sunday.
Well, congratulations, everybody. Jannik Sinner to the finals.
It'll be the finals on Sunday, and he will carry a 10-match winning streak into the final against either Taylor Fritz, who he's played twice, both at Indian Wells. They've split those 2 meetings, or Frances Tiafoe, who Sinner has beaten on 4 of their 5 prior meetings. I'm not sure we learned a whole lot about the state of his wrist, and we probably won't know more about his wrist, I would certainly think, until he hopefully takes the court Sunday. But tomorrow, Mac, as somebody who's been here before as a coach, tomorrow seems like it'll be the important day in terms of how he is physically after that second set fall.
Well, it was very encouraging signs to see him play the entire third set, seemingly free to hit the backhand at full power with that left wrist.